Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. Hope you guys are doing well on this fine Sunday. And this is Maintaining Frame number 100. So painful. 113. Which crazy straw pipeline reigns supreme? Where we're going to be looking at. Oh, good. I'm glad that so my social stream ninja didn't seem to be working, but I see a comment from our Rumble chat that did pop up. So hopefully YouTube is going to work okay too. I mean, I see it, but like I can see the YouTube chat, but yeah, this is goofy. Anyway, so Allison, what's going on with your microphone? I can't hear you. Yep, can't hear her.
The right
mic is not. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Okay,
apparently, I screwed everything up by accidentally unplugging my Shure microphone as we began this, because it's been a cascade of interesting things happening. I guess you could call them technical difficulties. I tried to turn my phone
favorite
camera.
thing to say is technical difficulty.
Yeah, I tried to turn my phone camera sideways, and apparently, although the phone camera does record video or stream video vertically, but if you turn it horizontally, that's a completely different ballpark. It does not understand what it's doing. It just stops working. God knows why.
That makes no sense.
I know it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense, but that's...
I mean, we've been turning phones sideways to get a different perspective for decades now. We're way past...
I don't know.
Whatever, like somebody coming up with a new way of doing things, like I don't know.
I know. I absolutely 100% know what you're saying, but apparently when you turn it sideways, it just ceases to think somehow.
Yeah.
That's all you were there. That's all I did. I turned it sideways and then everything stopped working. I think maybe I jostled a cord. That's probably what it was. Or maybe the drivers just don't handle sideways. You know? I don't know. Anyway, that's sort of what happened. And now my microphone doesn't work because I accidentally unplugged it instead of the... Anyway, the reason why I called this...
Is there just like a rat's nest of cords that you're just standing in the midst of, that you could just move in any given direction and something's just going to pop right out of the jack? Like, how does that happen? Anyway, I thought that you got rid of the cats.
You are more accurate than you realize. I could show you guys what I'm standing in a nest of wires and coffee. Lots of coffee. Yeah. So the reason why I called this show the Crazy Straw Pipeline is because there are a lot of pipelines being proposed in for some reason. Both of the two sponsors for this today's show, Richard and Karan Strong, or the Great Indoors, he has multiple names. He goes by multiple aliases. Man of Mystery. They both sent me in the same time period 2 feminist or quasi-feminist videos that are
they're both highly feminist videos.
Both highly feminist
very feminist videos. Super cancer.
Yeah, that are proposing the X to Y pipeline. And I'm like looking at this and I'm thinking, this is crazy conspiracy theory talk, right? And if we treated women and female online commentators like we treat men, we would ostracize them for this nonsense. Instead, these women have a brain fart and suddenly we're institutionalizing it. It's like, yeah, we all got to do that. Is that not the case? Like,
it's funny because they would argue that we are the ones engaging in conspiracy theory, especially the intersectional Lily Alexandre. I had to watch both of these videos. Can I just tell you?
Just unload.
Yeah. No, I had to watch both of them, and they were not short. Okay, Manifestelle's video is 45 minutes long, and it's pain from start to finish. And then Lily Alexandre's video is an hour and 13 minutes long. And it's all just absolute brainworms. Like it's absolute torture. I mean, I hope I want to say that I hope that these people are extremely fringe. And then I look at their subscribers, and Manifestelle has 208,000 and Lily Alexandre has 144,000. And these are almost all of them are ultra paranoid, conspiratorial, lonely cat women. And I'm just going to say it, cat women. I'm sorry, if you like cats, good for you. These bitches, they think that cats replace all of their friends, all of their children, their entire society. That's a different breed of insanity. And there are a lot of them. A lot of them. And they're just, I mean, like, these videos are so awful. We could, why do you do this to me? Why do you pick this stuff? I mean, they're seriously making the argument for top-down Deus Vult patriarchy just to protect them from themselves. Like, protect them from themselves, okay?
Yeah, it's
and from like harming other women, because these women are poisonous. They are literal poison. They are scarlet rot. This is K-Lid that I'm looking at. These are the swamp levels from every Soulsborne game. It manifested as a person giving advice to women.
And the women are listening. Like, honestly.
And the worst part is that, yes, the worst part is that they are listening.
Yeah, women are listening to this. Women are putting these women into influence in the hundreds of thousands. So they have an audience of women. I mean, if I went out and I said, okay, ladies, you don't need to worry this much about men. In fact, they would prefer if you didn't, if you stop worrying so much and just accept it when most men say. There's a vanishing minority of men who want to do anything bad to you, period. And you're not going to construct an entire oppressive edifice over that vanishing minority. And not to mention, the rest of men are in a constant struggle, most of them, in trying to prevent that vanishing minority from doing anything. So just relax about men. Just relax. And we should live in a society where a woman like this, like Manifestelle or Lily, has these conspiratorial brain farts, and they're just, brought over and said, no, just no. But instead, they get gigantic platforms to spout stuff that is frankly worse than Tate. Like, significant.
Allison, I swear to Christ, it's not even close.
Yeah, I know.
I promise you, it's nothing like this. These women are evil. They are really, really evil. And I don't know which one is worse. I don't know. I had to watch both of these videos.
I am so sorry. I was doing stuff with the writers.
I deserve time codes in the future if you're going to put this on me, because 45 minutes of, some girls talking with uptalk at the end of every sentence. I mean, no one deserves that. Like, we should make violent criminal rapists in prison watch Manifestelle videos for like 24 hours, and then he's probably going to be reformed.
And also, you probably choose the sodomy by the average prisoners. Like, can I go back to the shower? Give me a whole bunch of soap.
I mean, sorry, it's just
humor. No,
it's very painful.
I get it.
It's not like, I'm sorry, but the Tate comparison doesn't even exist in my mind.
Well, they bring up,
I haven't seen. I know they bring it up, but they're wrong. They're 100% wrong.
Okay.
Like 1,000,000% wrong. They love bringing them up. But it's not even close. It's not even close.
I think.
Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Well, what I was going to say is they say things like, "Wow, he's a sex trafficker" and all that. I mean, alleged. Honestly, all the stuff that he's done, has there been a conviction yet? No. So it's alleged, and we have to say alleged because otherwise it's libel. All right. You cannot accuse people of crimes and say they did these crimes.
Well, slander is spoken in print. It's libel.
Yeah, but okay, slander. But it's actually this is something that you can get, an actionable suits against you for doing. So you cannot say that he is convicted. You cannot say that he has done these crimes. It's alleged. Unless you, and the other thing is that I'm talking about what he said. I don't know if you've been following me on Twitter. I said, is anything that Tate has said equal to the misandry of this female influencer 3 times the platform of me on Twitter? Nobody actually gave me a quote except for things that he said about men. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm not really asking for the misandry. I'm aware of his misandry, and he's done some really shitty things, some very deceptive, shitty things. And I'm totally aware of that, but that's not what I'm asking for. Nobody, to this point, he is nothing. Nobody's brought up this dread specter of misogyny, the most horrible misogynist in our culture, and nobody has yet brought up a quote that is as bad as the run-of-the-mill female influencer that I quoted. And she said something like, men are so sad, like the state of men is so sad, they deserve suicide and virginity. And I'm like, this is shit. And so you guys are all united in their hatred of Andrew Tate, and yet nobody can give me one thing that he said to women in toto as a something, like a commentary on the world, not things that he said to his freaky girlfriends or anything else like that, not personal stuff, not stuff that he is alleged to have done. I'm asking you for things he has said as an influencer that are equivalent to the vile hatred I am seeing from the average female influencer. Okay? The average female influencer. Nobody yet has actually found me something from Tate that is as bad as that. And I have an absolute tsunami avalanche of crap from the average female influencer. And we just are any of them being hound or like, I mean, yeah, maybe it's justifiable what's happening to Tate. We'll find out whenever he gets his trial. But are any of these female influencers having the same things done against them? And people are hiding behind, well, what about sexual abuse? I'm like, statistically, these spoiled girlies are likely to have a lot of sexual assault skeletons in their closet, but nobody's talking about that. I'm sure we could find it, and if men's had the same culture of accusing women of stuff, that would be right there, because statistically they're doing it. There's no way that this vast body of millennial female influencers is not engaging in rape, sexual trafficking, and everything of the absolute worst sort, and also sexual abuse of minors, because it's all in the statistics. And so any group of female anything will have its rapists, will have its traffickers, will have its sexual abusers of minors. And sometimes these women do it on camera or confess to it in monologues, and everybody's, we're just going to continue on. No, we're just going to ignore that. That's just, women get freebies when it comes to sex trafficking and rape and all of that stuff. We just pretend she didn't say it, because a lot of these women have said it. So in this population of female influencers online, there is 100% women who are sex trafficking, 100% women who are engaging with rape with weapons. That's the rape that nobody argues about, unless it's a woman on a man, and we still say he wanted it, even though she had to use a gun to get it. All right, they're engaging in rape, they're engaging in harassment, they're engaging in sexual abuse, except we are not willing to call them out about it. So don't give me this shit. The only reason why there aren't female influencers being accused of this stuff is because we don't want to see it, because we hide it, right? So don't give me that. Now, and once we just get that off the tip, once we get that off the table, then we're just left with what's said. And I'm sorry, the average female influencer says far worse shit on average than anything I've seen. The worst. Like, people come at me and they're like, oh, why do you defend Tate? I don't defend him. I'm saying, you guys have said This is the worst misogynist in the world. This is the misogynist we all have to band together to call out and ensure doesn't have any kind of platform anywhere because of his rank misogyny. And yet, the average female online influencer, when it comes to dating, relationships, and men, on average, day to day, says worse. And we choose to ignore it. In fact, someone was like, "Oh, we shouldn't have paid attention to it." Yeah, the reason why this stuff is getting worse is because we choose to not take it seriously. These women have influence because women have influence. They have influence over a lot of women, and it's horrifying. And nobody is calling them out. Like, we got a whole institutions calling out Andrew Tate, even though they constructed him. Probably that's the whole deal, right? But nobody's calling out these women. In fact, when you look at politicians, feminist politicians, many times they have equally disgusting takes about men. But misandry is no impediment to being a politician. Nobody calls them out for it. And yet we have entire institutions calling men out for being disrespectful towards women. Entire NGOs founded on making sure men respect women. And yet nothing. No, is there a single Department of Homeland Security funded project to oppose this shit? No. Is there a single NGO that's advocating for lowering the temperature of the discourse from women to men? No. Are there any media publications that are going after women like this? No. Absolutely not. There's just this gigantic sea of misandry, and a tiny puddle of misogyny, and our whole society is gathered around the tiny puddle of misogyny, which incidentally is just some runoff from the gigantic ocean of misandry. It's just some men who didn't have the impulse control and the general goodness to keep it back, right?
Mm-hmm.
That just succumb to the hatred that women are spewing constantly. And we just gather around the little puddle and we turn it into an ocean while we ignore the actual ocean. And yes, a lot of it started with institutionalizing the absolutely hateful belief that men oppress women. Anywhere in history, around the world, in our society, or anywhere. That is an absolutely hateful notion. When you want to dehumanize a group of people, you frame them as antisocial and criminal. That's what they found. It's not that you frame them as animals. You frame them as human beings who are antisocial and criminal. And what does that narrative do to men? It targets men with the most destructive, dehumanizing, but dehumanizing in the way that dehumanization actually happens, destructive hate speech in human history. And we did that. We just randomly decided, hey, that makes sense. It probably wasn't random. We just decided, yeah, we're all going to teach that men oppress women. We're going to do that. We're going to see what a society that results. Well, we have now. A society with an ocean of misandry, an increasing inability to get people into relationships and reproduce itself and incentivize productivity. This is what we're seeing, the rise of the party of single women, who will eventually dominate politics, even if you get a few years clemency. That's what's going to happen. Like, eventually the Republican Party will either have to bow to the party of single women and remove all of its criticism and just embrace their agenda, or the Democratic Party will win. And it's like, that's the thing. This is what we've seen going forward. There's actually a political incentive for women like this to sell women on not getting in relationships and with men. You talk about the immigrants, but the biggest growing population of Democrat supporters, if you want to do this one side versus the other, is single women, because the Democrats pretty much have honestly, I would say they've betrayed all of their original principles to appeal to this demographic. And the Republicans are going to have to do the same. And then they have no principles left. And there's no difference.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, there may be some clemency for the next few elections, but eventually it's going to happen. And God help us all when it does. Because then the entire system will be controlled by people who do not understand the system and or have any respect for it and only see it in terms of what it's not giving them in the next 5 minutes. Oh, that was a long rant. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we only went for a half an hour. So what about that video? How about those videos that are also an hour?
Okay.
How do we want to start this? So what do you want first? You want Manifestelle or do you want the other one? They're both awful. So Lily Alexandre or Manifestelle?
We'll do Manifestelle.
Okay, so Manifestelle, just to set it up. Manifestelle made a video called "The Trad Husband to Family Annihilator Pipeline." Now, in the episode, she talks about apparently there is a pipeline when a man marries a woman and starts a family and then goes on later to have an episode and kill everyone in the family, including himself. And this is like a trend that happens often enough that it needs to be discussed by Manifestelle in a way to caution women against, well, I don't know, men. It's like period. So yeah, she did that. She made women the victims of marriage. So I'm gonna switch. Let's go to the source.
Well,
and
is there any? Okay, let's start. Let's start first off. Is there any actual evidence of this?
She's got there was an article done on Mother Jones that she reads through. There's a couple of videos on TikTok that she plays. She talks about, she essentially tries to make logical leaps about it. Like, oh, here's an incident where a man, like you guys, there are stories sometimes that make the news of like a man who, well, let me turn because I'm not on camera right now. Hold on. There are stories that you will occasionally see in the news of a man who, does a murder-suicide, right? Where he kills his family, kills his wife, then kills himself. Mm-hmm. And of course, because it is a man doing that, that becomes news. So like when women kill their babies or they, mutilate a guy in his sleep or something like that, that makes the news, but it's kind of like in one ear out the other, and it's over.
I just want to bring something up that I just recently came across my desk. A woman choked her partner to death during sex intentionally. Then and as he was dying, she was still having sex with him. So she's actually charged also with rape and murder and desecration of a corpse, because after she did that, she carved him up and left his head for his mom to find underneath a shower curtain in a bucket. And I don't think Manifestelle, you're not including the full breadth of human evil here when you're constructing this idea.
Well, of course not. Because that's not her goal. Her goal is to only talk about how women are affected, how men are harmful to them, how men are scary. I mean, honestly, after I watched this whole thing, she's clearly damaged goods. Like, I mean, seriously damaged goods. Like, she is going to hurt someone at some point in the future very soon. And yes. I mean, I think that how, and this is with both of these,
she probably already has,
women.
To be honestly,
she may have, yeah. But you know how when we talked to Alexander, what was his name? Russian Deadpool, and you guys had this. Whoa, this guy is gonna kill somebody, right? That's what I get from her. Now, the way that it will come out is not going to be the same. But this is a seriously deranged psychopathic woman. seriously troubled. And yet she's able to present, because she's not bad looking, and because she has like a way of a candor that is people find appealing, the way that she talks to the girls, all of it flies out of the radar. But that is a witch. That is a witch that we're looking at. But anyway, and I'm not saying that as a just to like an ad hom, like, oh, I'm just like attacking her. No, you see what her views are, and you're like, how the hell do you have any friends? Like, you're bad business.
She probably doesn't really.
Maybe she might be terminally online. Yeah, I mean, but anyway, let's do the video. So I'm gonna jump to where she talks a little bit about this, but essentially, what she is doing is she is warning women that if you become a tradwife, then you are putting your life in danger because patriarchy. So I'm gonna play the video now.
It's the rise of family annihilators. It's honestly shocking and gross and disgusting and also very, very sad. Now we have a lot to cover, but before we get into it, I need you to hit the like, subscribe, and the notification bell so you never miss a spoiled girly episode. With that being said, let's get into it. Here's the video that started it all.
What opinion will you defend like this?
That with the tradwife movement,
I am not hearing it.
You're not hearing it?
No.
Oh no.
That's very strange. I wonder if it's on my end though. Let me do something here.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can hear the video, right? Like, people watching should be able to hear it. I can hear it.
Yeah, for some reason I'm not able to hear it. What's going on here? Do I have a setting off?
Is this it? Well, you can hear me talking, so it's not that.
Yes, I can hear you talking just fine.
Is the performer, the video that I'm sharing with you, is it not acting as a performer? Like, there's like well, I could try one more thing here.
Sure.
Let me try one thing. Hold on a second, guys. I am sorry about
sorry
this.
about this.
I'm gonna try something. I don't know if it's gonna work. The people watching can hear, but it seems that Allison can't, and I don't know why that is. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to open these in a different browser and see if that works. I don't think it should matter. I honestly don't think it should matter, but who knows?
I'm also noticing that I seem to be getting priority. I guess I need to stop and
then well, if I'm not talking, I'll just turn off the hold on a second.
I'll mute myself when I'm not talking, so I'm not taking over your
I'm just
with my
I'll just I'm just gonna turn off the this thing here. So give me a second. Sorry guys. Just changing some things around. I don't know if it's gonna help. It might be Allison, but I'm gonna try to, figure this out. Right, so
like I don't even know why this is happening. I think I did plug my headphones into the Mac, so I could try just unplugging my headphones and see. No,
don't do anything yet. Don't do anything yet. Let me just change what we're sharing, and we will see if that works. So I am now sharing something different, and I'm going to close this. And you guys shouldn't change anything for you all watching, but oh shit! Don't play. Okay, so now I'm gonna play it. Tell me if you hear it. Okay.
Okay. Yes, I do.
I don't. Okay. Well, whatever. We did it. Everybody, we did it. I don't know how.
No idea.
For some reason, but it works.
Or the philosophy behind why that worked, but yes.
Yeah, it worked somehow. Somehow Palpatine returned. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to turn these on again. I'm gonna put up, I got a super chat and a Rumble rant, so I'm gonna go ahead and read those out really quick, and then we will continue. Also, there was a Super Chow that I did not read that Great Endor sent. It was the last one. I could read that. That was like after the Badger Lodge, I think. So anyway,
thank you. I haven't really put up the fundraiser for this month, which I really I've had a lot of projects on the go. So, but I do want to thank Optimus, who I believe just started a $30 subscription or upgraded from 15 to 30. So thank you, Optimus. Very much appreciated. Hopefully not your legal name.
Thank you, Optimus. I'll play something for you here.
You take sugar? No, thank you, Turkish. I'm sweet
Very much.
enough.
Okay, so that's very much appreciated. And if you want to join Optimus and enjoy the extra patron content, you can do so at Feed the Badger. Subscribe. It really helps out. The subscriptions are great. And of course, you get access to our after shows. You can also join me when I do my workshop story reviews, which I think are very fun. The people involved seem to enjoy them quite a bit. And yeah, so feedthebadger.com/subscribe to get more Badger, specifically more Badger in relation to storytelling. But you know, Brian also does commentary on this stuff when he feels up to it.
Well, this isn't a story. This is, I don't know what this is. This is
It
money
is a
laundered
story.
content. This is modern art.
This is funded by the CPP.
Well, she gets, they both have like sponsored videos. People are giving them money to make this content.
This Drek.
This
Yeah,
content.
and then everybody's like, oh, why aren't men able to find girlfriends?
Yeah.
I wonder. And you know, it's really funny because this isn't going to affect like the tens of the world, the tens, the nines. They're going to still pair bond. This isn't going to affect the rich and elite. They're going to still get into relationships. It's just going to affect all of the women who are mid in terms of, you know, who their family is, how much they make, what they look like. They are going to be convinced to opt out of the single best thing that will ever happen to them, which is getting a romantic relationship with a man, specifically because relationships with women really suffer from a lot of problems that they don't tell you about. But that's the single biggest thing. That's the single biggest thing, best thing that can happen to a woman. And one of the single biggest predictors of her happiness is whether or not she can maintain a relationship with a man. So these ladies are actually convincing women to destroy themselves.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I did get a Super Chow on the 9th, which was 2 days ago, from Great Indoors. I'm going to read it really quick because I didn't read it because it was after my show. I think it was after my show was over or close to the end. He gave us $10 and said the less response to assassinations and other tragedies is either exploitation or damage control. I've noticed this ever since the assassination of Pim Fortune in 2002. Back then, I naively thought they might change their attitude, but I had my doubts. When those doubts were reinforced by their subsequent behavior, it moved me initially to people like Christopher Hitchens. Thank you for the Super Chow. Sorry for reading it so late, and it feels like really out of context, but also based. And then I got OIC gave us a Rumble rant and said, a small token for all of us having to listen to Manifestelle's voice and accent. Thank you for that. Gives us $1. And then Zeranx gives us $2 and says, Manifestelle is hint the supreme lady. It's kind of like the supreme gentleman. Yeah, really, really dangerous customer, in my opinion. But let us play some more. Now I want you to listen to this. She's opening up the conversation here, okay? What is this about?
No. How would they create content if it was a full-time job? It's not.
Oh, you
a
mean like
full-time
the
job.
well, the Tradwife online thing, the TikTok thing? I mean, that's just really an aesthetic.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's like women complaining about other women's aesthetics. God, she looks really evil in this still. Like you should
She
really
is.
have a contempt. Like these women are just like
She's look. I don't use this term lightly. She's evil. This is an
Okay.
evil woman. I'm serious.
This is like you said, this is an aesthetic. This is just something they're doing for fun. Because a genuine trad wife, if that was a full-time job, would be doing it. Right? And also she would be living 150 years ago. Because I'm sorry, that's not a trad wife. Look at your refrigerator makes ice. You have a this is not trad wife. This is a man has paid for the machines to take the original role of a woman from a full-time job, 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, to a part-time job, if that, since men can do it for themselves when they're single. Like literally, men can, single men was much more difficult in the past because men couldn't necessarily replicate what women did with machines. And now they have. So you can have bachelors in the city, and it's basically just they spend a couple hours extra to take care of themselves. That wasn't the case. That the original women's job was a job. And it was much more than just cleaning. It was herbalism. It was food preparation and storage, so no people don't get botulism. It was making sure that the grounds around the garden were properly cared for, and the garden produce was taken off. It was animal husbandry to a certain degree. I mean, it was all kinds of additional stuff. And the labor of laundry was huge, just in and of itself. So no, this isn't trad wife. This is modern women who are living a life of incredible leisure, bought for, if they're not paying for their own appliances, purchased by their husbands for them. And while they're doing it, they're pursuing an interesting aesthetic, like an aesthetic that they find compelling. Like none of this is traditional, none of it. And I don't know why she has such a problem with it. Like
it's because it's something that men find pleasing. That's why. It's literally because men, even if it is I know that the Tradwife online thing is just an aesthetic thing. It's just like women jumping on a bandwagon to have a little bit of fun, probably grow a social media presence, become influencers, and all of that. This woman has no problem with them existing. She has a problem with any men, even if it isn't real, even if it isn't legitimate, that are like, oh, that's nice. That's her problem. That's it.
You know, men also like findom.
Sure they do. There's men, but they like all kinds of stuff.
The only men that your content is attracting is findom men. So, but I mean, what I'm saying is there is a male audience for the kind of content that she's creating. So can she hate herself? I would honestly say, Brian, that it's not hatred of men that's driving her. I think it's hatred of women who are honing in on a potential resource. Like honestly, like, and this is, I'm saying this as somebody who's taken like courses in primatology. Female primates compete over resources, and in many cases, resources are in a human society. If we take that from the primate, male primates compete over access to sexual, to sex, to female primates. Female primates compete over resources. I don't think women have changed that much. It's just that in our society, resources are men's attention, or attention period. And she's seeing another group of women who have an aesthetic that is honestly, like, let me put it this way. If I were to choose between Manifestelle and Tinder Bender, I believe is the Tradwife, as a friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like seriously, I can imagine just sitting down with Manifestelle, and before my butt hits the seat of the coffee house, there's a couple knives in my back. Like honestly, at least with the Tradwife, I mean, we could be frivolous together. But Manifestelle just gives off this incredible vibe of backstabbing. And I think that she is looking at somebody who genuinely, even if this woman is like, it's just an aesthetic, It's just something she's doing to have fun. She looks like a more wholesome human being, a person you'd actually want to be friends with, right? And I think that that's what Manifestelle is reacting to. She's like freaking Dracula in sunlight, but also a threat to her resources. This woman is a threat to the spoilt girly resources because, one, you're right, she's appealing to men. She's offering a better deal. At least she's cheerful, and Manifestelle doesn't like that because she wants to be able to give the bare minimum to men and receive the maximum from them.
I mean,
So
I don't even think that this Tyler Bender person is trying to attract a man. I think she's just like just becoming an influencer, and she's using this because it appeals to men. And this is the thing that Manifestelle despises is that it's women behaving in a role that is in any way serving men, or at least that's how she perceives it. Because, like, guess what, ladies? If you live by yourself, you still have to do all the shit that the Tradwife does. You're just doing it by yourself,
I'm just
like,
wondering,
do you not clean up after yourself? Do you not cook your own meals? Do you not do your laundry? Yeah, like, do you not do these things when you're not married? Because if you don't, you're gross.
Yeah. Well, I'm just look at the look on her face, though. Honestly, like, for all the women who think that are having like some kind of parasocial relationship with her, yeah, that's what she genuinely feels about you, unless you're actually supporting her monetary endeavors.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's what you get. All right, let's keep going. And I'm calling her out for her behavior and attitudes, not
Okay. We just make sure the audio is working. It should be, though, but let's see.
Is there somebody complaining?
Oh, I see that. No. It's because I had to change the browser source, so it changed the audio, but it's okay. We'll just go back a little bit here.
Lifestyle, and they extol the virtues of being a stay-at-home wife or mother while doing housework, which is labor and in itself is a full-time job, while also creating content, which is also labor and also can be a full-time job. In essence, the Tradwives are girl bossing, but in a different font. And according to Google Trends, online searches of the term Tradwife began to rise in popularity around mid-2018 and experienced high levels during the early 2020s. The traditional housewife aesthetic has since spread throughout the internet, in part through social media featuring women extolling the virtues of behaving as the ideal woman. And we already talked about this aspect of culture in a past class, the rise of filler and Botox, changing beauty standards, and these.
Right.
Are you really the person to talk about that?
It's a little bit judgy.
What I just said?
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, again, I guess, I don't know. I think that the way that I'm trying to like get to the root of what Manifestelle is doing instead of like nitpicking at the little things that she says. And I think at the root of what she's doing is, I think that's where it gets pretty dark. Because the implications of what she wants, which is essentially to turn men into a servant class that just like takes care and pampers women while she lives in a completely disconnected, disjointed reality where she is somehow in constant danger because she's not experiencing ultimate comfort. And it's actually extremely dangerous what she's doing because, I mean, she's going to get like her friends murdered and herself, like not by men, but just by the circumstances of like what she's asking for. It's I don't know. It's dark, man. This is very dark stuff.
Okay, I'm actually really curious about how you're coming to that conclusion. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen, but I won't be on camera because I'm going to be doing some stretches. Once the reason why I haven't been on stream for a while is because I've had a cluster headache that is now going on 2 weeks. So it's really bothering. So I need to just do a few stretches and maybe get away from the lights that are making it so you can actually see my face. But I will be listening, and I want you to just go through and explain your thesis You understand?
Yeah.
Just do it, and then I will come in and I will keep my mouth completely shut during this process. So you show the time codes that indicate what you're seeing and what she's
I'll
saying.
jump through a part. I'm gonna
and
turn off
just lay
the
it all
scene
out.
switcher. Yeah,
And
I'm
I
gonna
will,
turn
like
off
I
the
said,
scene switcher. Go ahead.
I will do the impossible for a woman. I'll keep my mouth shut. All right, but
All right, here
I
we
will
go.
be hearing everything. I just won't be on camera.
All right, I'm gonna play a little bit of this. Allison has stepped away,
Centering
so
the male
I'm just gonna
I'm
jump
still
ahead
customer
here.
service calls. I'm
What?
I still hear everything. I hear everything.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's fine.
also using rocket money to lower
Okay, this is like the ad. Let's get to this. So she brings up the article. Here we go.
millennials and Gen Z women an eager part of the Tradwife audience. Jerkins writes, "Here's my theory. We've given up. The popularity of the Tradwife content is demonstrative of a psychological resignation. In the past several years, we've experienced a panini, the fall of Roe v. Wade, and the end of the girl boss era. The rise of the Tradwives marks what Samhita Mukhopadhyay, author of the 2024 book The Myth of Making It, A Workplace Reckoning, believes is a response to the failures of a neoliberal workplace feminism, stretching from the 1960s to the present day, one that focuses on individuality. What women fought for was an entry into the workplace, Mukhopadhyay explains, but being a mother in the workplace is almost untenable. According to a 2023 report from the liberal research and advocacy organization, the Center for American Progress, women were 5 to 8 times more likely than men to work part-time or not at all because of caregiving responsibilities. Maya Kosoff, a content strategist and writer, who admits to me that she has become obsessed with Tradwives herself, says their popularity is a reaction to perceived systemic failures that seem like they can easily be solved by turning to the simpler life of homesteading.
All right, let's go back a little bit. So I think one of the things that she's concluding or deriving from this is that there's a lot of weird blame being flung around, but it says the popularity of Tradwife content is demonstrative of a psychological resignation. So there is this like giving up. Women have lost all of their will to live, and now they just want to be wives and mothers. And of course, this is unacceptable, right? There's this like people in the real world where there are real human beings living real lives, not this terminally online stuff. This is terminally online. Get off the internet. Go touch grass, lady. But real human beings that actually want to live fulfilling lives understand a few key principal things. Okay. Number one is that most of us want families, and that goes for women and men. And that means that you have to like find someone, form a partnership with them, and try to build something together. And as soon as you start seeing your partner as an enemy on a battlefield, you have lost. The other thing is that when it comes to that understanding, that means that you're going to have to live within your means. So that means that maybe someone is going to have to you're just going to like tighten your belts. You're not going to spend as much money. You're not going to have as much stuff because kids cost money and living in a family costs money. And if you're a man or a woman and you know that going in, it's not hard. And this is what most people do. Most people, like every week I go to my church and there are people there with their kids. And I'm talking like 4 or 5 kids. And yeah, the babies are squirming all over the ground and the boys are distracted and the girls are playing with each other's hair. But that is the reality. That is reality. That's not this shit where you can just be like, I'm going to make some content and call it a full-time job. You know, that's not reality. Manifestelle is living in a fantasy world and she hates the world she lives in and she thinks it's a prison. She's the loser. Like she is. Okay. So anyway, it says we've experienced a panini, which, you know, this is another thing I can't stand about these people is that they make up new words because they don't want to say the edgy words. So they don't just say like murder. They say like unaliving. Please stop doing that. We know what you mean. That's like saying the N-word. You're putting the N-word in my head. Just say it or don't say it. But don't make up new language because you're like This is like so feminine. It drives me insane. But anyway, we experienced a pandemic, which is not crazy to say because it did happen. The fall of Roe v. Wade, again, more fear mongering. This is insanity. Roe v. Wade was bad law. It got reversed. That's what should have happened. It never should have existed in the first place. The case itself, as the premise for it being put into the shaky position was based in a lie. A woman lied about being raped. That's what it was based in, a lie. There's another thing we can't talk about. Women lie about rape, and sometimes it impacts law for decades. That's what Roe v. Wade is. And you're acting like this is just like a blow to women. No, stupid. It's actually a correction. The end of the girl boss era never started. Women only have positions of any authority because men allow it. I'm sorry, it's just true. The rise of Tradwives marks that Samhita, whatever the name, I'm not going to read it, believes it's a response to the failures of a neoliberal workplace feminism. And whenever feminists fail at something, they just rebrand the feminism that failed as another kind of feminism and not actual feminism, and then they move on. Well, that was just neoliberal feminism. That's not my feminism. That's not real feminism. Real feminism's never been tried, just like other things that have never been tried. Stretching from the 1960s to the present day, that focuses on individuality. What women fought for was an entry into the workplace. I don't even know that women wanted it. And that's another thing. Like if you claim that being a housewife or a mother is labor, then women have always worked. There was no period in history where women didn't work. Probably fewer women work today than probably have in the past, in fact. There are probably more women on Social Security, more women on welfare, more women getting gibs from the government and demanding more than had existed in history, at least per capita. My guess, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like all of this, the thing about Manifestelle that I think is dangerous, ultimately, is that she does not live in a world that has a past. She lives only in a world that is the present. It is the world of the now. And so when she says now things are bad, she has no idea what she's talking about because of how things have been in history and how good she has it. Because if she was able to take a step back and look at how good she has it, she's literally made a job out of complaining about shit that doesn't exist on the internet and gets paid sponsorships and still thinks she's a victim. She has no idea. And honestly, she's going to die childless and alone with no one around her in an old folks home somewhere. And she's going to be wondering, why did I do that? Why did I hate men for my whole life? Now I'm going to die pathetic. And meanwhile, the Tradwives that are like enslaved to the patriarchy, and I don't mean like the ones on TikTok, I mean the actual women that are choosing a life of motherhood, which, sorry guys, but that's normal. That's not weird. I know that the Kamala campaign says it's weird to have kids in a family. That's just normal. If you don't have that, then it's your choice, but you have to accept that you are the outlier. You have to accept that. It's okay to be weird as long as you understand it. But when somebody that just wants normal shit, that's just normal shit, guys. It's just normal shit. So she's not going to have any of that. They will. And that's the thing. People who are forming families, reproducing, and staying together will win. They will win 100%. And these single feminist cunts, they will not win. They will lose everything. So what are you going to do? And then the reason why I say this is going to get people killed is because she's convincing a lot of other women that this lifestyle is okay and that they should only live in the now and that they should only never decide to develop any skills, any abilities, any ability to self actualize. They have no duty to the world, no duty. Because it's all about just what they want. It's about getting that bag and securing the other, your own bag, right? You're not going to have a fulfilling life. It's going to be disastrous. You're going to be on SSRIs like 40% of all women are right now. The mental health industry is going to essentially convince you that you're eternally a victim and you got to get more pills so that you can stay sane. And the whole time, all you had to do was essentially stop blaming men for everything and deal with your own shit. So anyway, so yeah, this article's from Mother Jones, and it's absolute cancer. Ladies, don't listen to this shit. Get your shit together. It's on you 100%. So let me jump to another part. I don't know if Allison wants to speak to that or if you're still stretching or whatever.
No, just keep going. I want
All
you
right,
to
I'm gonna play
say-
some more. I'm gonna play some more.
I want you to have the room to have your entire piece.
All right. Let's play
And
some more.
I'm just taking notes, so I will get mine in.
Okay. All right.
The Tradwife trend, the Tradwife lifestyle adoption. As was said in the first video we watched, the rise of Tradwives predicts the rise of family annihilators. Dun, dun, dun! But first, what are family annihilators? It would seem to have been Dietz, 1986, who first coined the term family annihilator in an American medical bulletin.
Family annihilator is a really cringe term. It just means mass murderer, I guess, like a husband that kills his family. And again, this obviously leaves out incidences where women do it. You know, either because they go sleep with some other guy and they get him to come back and kill the husband, or they kill their own kids, which women are way more likely to do when it comes to annihilating babies. Women are way better at it and they do it way more often. But of course, she's not going to acknowledge that, because when women do it, I guess it's because they're getting that bag. This is what I mean. Like, when you treat this kind of stuff so callously and you convince people that this is normal and acceptable, I think that is demonic. And I don't, it's demonic. That's what it is. It's anti-life. It's anti-family. And it's all me. Literally, like making yourself into a god and then worshiping that god.
He described the family annihilator as usually the senior man of the house who is depressed, paranoid, intoxicated, or a combination of these, and noted that he may commit suicide after unaliving the others or may force the police to unalive him. It is also clear that family annihilation, as well as spree or serial murder, is an overwhelmingly male preserve.
No, it isn't.
So
It isn't. Can I just get into here? With
yeah. Go ahead.
First of all, family annihilators is seen as a male thing. I'll turn my camera on so you guys can see me. I don't have my earphones, but family annihilator. Oops, forgot. I turned off my light because
It looks fine. It looks fine.
Okay, so family annihilators are termed that way because they annihilate themselves as well. And the reason why women are not termed family annihilators is when they kill their kids or their husband, they tend to not die. So a man is just like, yeah, I'm taking myself out and I'm taking my family out. It's complete destruction, right? And it's not just destruction of family, but destruction of self. What happens when women do it is they will jump out of a 2-story window and call that a suicide attempt. She sprained her ankle, or they might scratch their wrists with a knife or something. And the reason why they do that, I don't know, like women often just kill their families and kill their partners without killing themselves, because I guess they just can't manage to do that as well. So the family annihilator is a man, not because it's more likely to be men, it's because men are more likely to commit suicide after annihilating their families, because they are genuinely having like a crisis, a mental health crisis that is profound. Whereas women, apparently their mental health crisis isn't so profound that it's self-directed. It's always, they always can justify living after killing their family. But, that's the reason. And it's not really that majority male. First of all, women are the majority of people who kill children. And that's not just abortion. It is children post-birth. And probably their vast majority, because a lot of times they hide stepfathers behind fathers, or just the random dude in the mother's house that's been there for a few weeks as a father figure, which he absolutely isn't. So when you look at just mothers versus fathers, the difference is stark. And when you include children in the statistics for domestic murder, women are very much in the running as top domestic murderers. But we don't do that. Why? Because we don't want to see that about women. We just don't want to see it. We want to see them as wonderful. That is a well-documented effect in psychology. So we just ignore that and we focus on the one group of people that's majority male. And incidentally, this wasn't in the US. In the US, men were not the majority, the vast majority of people who killed their partners. In the 70s, it was much more equal. They were like maybe 52 to 48 in favor of men killing their partners. What happens then is, for whatever reason, the situation got a lot better for Black men specifically. So the rate at which Black men were being killed by their partners, maybe because they were no longer living with them, was just declined so much that women became 2/3 of the victims of partner homicide. And that, but if it had remained the same, then men and women would be killing their partners equally. But for some reason, Black men stopped being killed by their partners. Probably, like I said, they stopped living with them. They got kicked out of the house, so that saved them. But yeah, so this is just actually, it might just be an effect of welfare, at least in the States. The fact that men no longer live in the house with women in certain communities because they don't need to, which reduced the rate at which they were murdered.
Well, women don't get welfare if men are in the home.
Yeah, exactly.
So they gotta go. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this might just be an effect of that changing demographic, and they turn around and they pin it on men. It's ridiculous. It could also be that women got the ability to leave abusive men or leave when they felt like the mutual abuse was getting too intense, which prevented them from being killed. Whereas men don't have the ability to leave, which might explain why they get into these really despondent, very destructive situations where, this is not family annihilation. This is murder suicide, right? That really, they should call it what it is. It's murder suicide. Because the reason why you're calling it a family annihilation is the family is gone because the father's dead too, right? So, she's hiding a lot of stuff in what she's saying here. And it's really unfair. And it's really a distorted picture of the situation for men.
Yeah. But why would she do that?
Because she wants to.
Why would the study that she's actually citing also do that? Like, what's really the end game here?
It is. This is from Britain. A taxonomy of male British family annihilators. Well, this is basically just feminist scholarship feeding on itself. Why would she do this? Because she gets money from miserable women who don't have family. Like, the instant a woman gets a boyfriend, she's probably not going to be watching Manifestelle if she wants to keep him.
God, I hope not.
Yeah, like,
for his sake.
And honestly, people were talking about male virginity a while back, and then new stats came out, or stats were updated, or these were more accurate stats that indicate that no, actually, there's a huge problem with female virginity too. Yeah, and what we've also found is that people that have no sexual experience with the opposite sex often have a really negative attitude towards them. Like, this is a problem. This is, I don't think Manifestelle is really her audience is not women who are having relationships with men, certainly not successful relationships with men. She might have a small audience of women who are all orbiting men who will never settle down with them. But for the most part, I imagine she's tapping into the equally large reservoir of female virgins who hate men, but probably would get over it if they ever were in a relationship with one.
Yeah, maybe the FBI should be following this content. Where's the de-radicalization program for single women?
For a pair bonding species, men and women tend to be psychologically healthiest when they're in relationships with each other. And I will get off my soapbox so you can continue to lay out your.
All right, I'm gonna let's get back to the video, and I'm gonna go ahead and switch scenes here, play it. So she's citing feminist literature to back up her essential position that,
after
problem is men.
unaliving the others or may force the police to unalive him. It is also clear that family annihilation, as well as spree or serial murder, is an overwhelmingly male preserve. Yardley and Co. goes on to write about the two broad types of family annihilators, the altruistic filicides and the revenge unalivers. The first type occurs where
Oh my God, man. This whole like way of speaking, it just drives me insane.
I know. And another thing is that we're talking about a vanishingly small issue. Like men committing suicide because of domestic abuse is like probably 100 times bigger than this.
Yes, and she also states later on that women are the victims of, they're more likely to be victims of like violence than men. So like just a straight up lie about reality, just a lie, because they have to be victims. They have to be. So, all right, I'm gonna get back to this.
the father believes that the breakdown of the family unit is the end of the world, of his world at least, and that in unaliving his children, he is sparing them pain and possibly removing them to a better place. Often the father takes his own life and sometimes his partner's too. Monstrous self-obsession leaves the father apparently unable to perceive his children as separate entities, so that in his own mind, they are him. After all, they probably share his name. And this leads in turn by a kind of twisted logic to the conclusion that if his life must end, then so must theirs. Hodson's revenge unaliver, on the other hand, unalives his children because this will be seen as the ultimate injury to his partner or former partner, and she will have to live with that.
I got one for this. There was a woman recently who who had her son on Zoom or something and told him to say goodbye to his father and that he loved his father and then killed him. This is not something that's male only at all. This is actually sort of twisted.
Yeah.
Not only is this an incredibly small problem overall, like even in the UK, which is distorted by feminist statistics, and I think they have like a population of 62 million there. This is like 104 a year, maybe. And then you also it's something like 50 something women and then 30 something men this happens to in the UK. That's like, okay, this is so unlikely to happen to you. So unlikely to happen to you. It's not like divorce, which is 50%. This is unlikely to happen to you as women. It's something that you should not worry about, and you shouldn't necessarily make decisions about, except, don't send men like Wade Wilson love letters. Like Wade Wilson, the guy who killed 2 women, not the guy who played Deadpool. Just don't send him your nudes. Don't get involved with men like Wade Wilson. You'll probably be okay. And trust your freaking instincts. Like, here's the thing. You brought up Deadpool, which is interesting because now this is Deadpool times 3, right? We got Wade Wilson, who killed 2 women, who has a name similar to the actor who plays Deadpool, and then we got
Not the actor, the character.
The character.
The character of Deadpool's real name is Wade Wilson, which is
right.
It is essentially twist on the name Slade Wilson, who is the Deathstroke, the Terminator from DC Comics. Anyway, yeah.
Okay, so my overall point is you got that, and then you got Russian Deadpool, who I do not like to say.
Oh yeah, I did mention Russian Deadpool. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, who killed one of his girlfriends. Shot her to death in a parking lot, apparently, because he's now in jail for that. And this was a man who I interacted with personally, and for some reason, I knew he was bad news, like serious bad news. And the reason why I knew he was bad news was because of his reaction to me when I refused to play the role that he expected me to play as a male feminist, which is a female victim. Like, I am supposed to be a victim of other men so he can be the good man who saves me. And his reaction to that, and I'm not saying he has any particular interest in me, thank God, I hope that maintains, but his reaction to that showed me that he was a psycho. And a lot of feminists will never see that because they always play the right role for these men, you know? And interestingly enough, the same time that I was like, oh God, this guy's a psycho, Karen Strawn, Girl White Sweat, picked up exactly the same thing about him. And he was saying exactly, like, there was an individual who was interested in getting a hosting, because it was a big thing, you'd host debates. He wanted to host a debate between Russian Deadpool and me, and Russian Deadpool and Karen. And me and Karen were like, nope, absolutely not. That guy's a nut. Like, he is palpably bad news. And yet we both picked that up. As female men's rights activists, we both picked up a man who was bad news, most likely based on his behavior and his attitudes and how he reacted to us. Well, I don't know if that was with Karen, but that was what I picked up with him. It's how he reacted to me when I refused to play the role he described to me as a woman. And he was a feminist, so that role was victim of the patriarchy whom he was going to save. I saw that, and I knew he was bad news. And yet the two feminists he lived with apparently had no clue. And why? Because they had never not played the role he expected until one did. One decided to walk away and no longer play that role. And he didn't like it. And this is the thing, like, women, apparently feminists don't pick up on that. But if you do, if you are able, like, if you recognize, if you are willing to set aside whatever, I guess he was tall, good looking, I don't know, he looked like a snail to me, but you know, but he was attracted to those women in some level, and they were not able to look past that to see the red flags because he was ideologically flattering to them, I guess. And you know, it's like if you keep your awareness and you avoid obvious stupidity like sending nudes to a serial killer of women and trying to elicit a relationship from him, you know, you probably will be okay, ladies. Like, it's very, you have to actually put effort to become the target of a family annihilator. And that effort has to go well beyond being a traditional wife. Okay. I'm going to let you go there.
All right. Back to this. Play some more. It's okay. No problem.
Family annihilators. Okay, so stay tuned. And last but not least, we have the paranoid who believes that an external threat, which may be real or imagined, such as social services, whom he believes will take his children into care, will destroy his family. And in his own mind, unaliving his family is a way of protecting them from that threat. Like, is the threat in the room with us? And the problem with...
Okay, so back to obviously her terrible attitude. So I don't think that it's a reason to murder and suicide, but I think that the threat of the state taking your children from you when you're a man is very, very real. It is. I mean, I'm not saying that the response that you're talking about, which, as Allison pointed out, is extremely rare. And it makes me wonder, why would you invoke an extremely unlikely outcome and then attach that to an extremely common occurrence, which is the state essentially replacing the father in the home? I mean, you don't even have to take your kids from you. They could just say, you're not going to get any more social services because there's a man around. And then the woman says, well, I'm sorry, but you have to leave because I want this bag. That is the only thing that matters to me, more than my kids and more than my relationship with you, by the way. And this is something that happens. Or maybe the woman just says, you know what? I think my son is actually trans. I know he's only 2, but he took an interest in my shoes. So now I'm going to chemically castrate him and make him into a girl and raise him as a girl. And you can't stop me. And if you do, then I'm going to call the police. And that's what they do. And that happens. There was one guy who recently prevented this because his wife or ex-wife tried to raise their son non-binary. And he was like, nope, not doing that. and he fought her in the courts and won. But that him winning, that is a rare occurrence, so much so that it made the news because it was so newsworthy. So
Yeah.
again, what are you actually talking about if you are engaging in this, this narrative that you use something extremely unlikely and then you attach it to something really common and they say, oh, look, this is men. Oh my God, aren't they scary?
Yeah, most men respond to this threat by attempting to go through legal channels. And in fact, I would imagine that the family annihilators likely did as well. So this is actually, men losing their children is actually a very real threat to men in relationships. But most men don't kill their children and then themselves because of it. Right? We don't know what's really been happening in those relationships. If I were a feminist, I'd say, what did she do? What was she up to? What was she threatening? But again, this is very small. And the threat that she's talking about is very much in the room. There's been documentaries on it. What do you think? Everybody's delusional, Manifestelle?
Yeah, I mean, her making light of it is really annoying too.
The father's rights movement is completely delusional. You think that the number of fathers who've lost their children to family courts, what do you think the number of them compares to the number of men and women who've killed their children? What do you think? Which one of those numbers is bigger? And what are you talking about? And not only what are you talking about, what are you implying about traditional, so-called traditional lifestyle, which I'm not exactly sure. And first of all, it's not traditional. It's just a woman staying at home and relying completely on a man's income for her sustenance. What is it that you are saying to women? Well, I guess what she's saying is that a man should just be a supplement to a woman's income. How is that a spoiled girly if you are also counseling women to constantly get as much as they can and do as little as possible? Isn't a spoiled girly like a sugar baby with a sugar daddy? And isn't he supposed to be paying all the bills? So essentially what you're doing is you're advocating for the same lifestyle as you say will cause family annihilation. You're just saying that women shouldn't do any cooking and cleaning. Because I'm pretty sure if a man swooped in, if Mr. Big swooped in to a spoiled girly like you and said, I'm going to pay for everything and you'll have an army of maids to do all of the housework for, you'd be sure. Yeah, let's get completely reliant on this man's financial and to the point where I don't even know how to wipe my own ass. That's the other thing. She's like these traditional women at least have marketable skills when it comes to janitorial work and cooking, presumably, so they can maybe do something in the real world should their husband no longer support them because they haven't been sitting on their ass being attended to by a flight of maids. But I'm guessing a spoiled girly like you, that is the ideal situation, to essentially be attended upon like a termite queen and not even be able to move yourself. Isn't that being spoilt? This is what I'm saying. It's utter dependency on men. This is what she's preaching. Utter dependency on men to a degree even greater than that of a traditional wife. Insofar as you attain nothing for yourself. You do nothing for yourself, much less anything for anyone else. And you're certainly not producing a person who might be interested in supporting you like a son. No, you're just sitting there like a termite queen being protected, but birthing no new termites. Complete reliance on a man. That's what you're preaching as a spoiled girly. And what's the difference between that and a traditional wife? Except they're saying, let's give something back. And also let's not be completely useless. So maybe should it go south, we at least can take care of ourselves by doing our own laundry. Like, you see what I'm saying? What the fuck's the difference, Manifestelle? Except you want an even better deal. You're saying, oh, these traditional sluts, they're just giving it up too easy. They're actually offering something. I don't want to be able to offer nothing. This has nothing to do with concern over women being killed by family annihilators, much less children, because I'm sure children don't even register, because you are preaching exactly the same thing that you say causes family annihilators, and that is reliance on men. Except you are preaching even more severe reliance on men, complete reliance on men, utter reliance on men. Men should do everything for you, and somehow it's going to work out for you when you do it, but not for traditional women who want to exchange something. Like somehow a traditional woman is going to end up with a man, a woman who doesn't want to cheat anyone, who's actually interested in some reciprocity in the relationship, is more likely to end up with a man who is an annihilator than you, who absolutely preaches complete dependence on a man but wants to give them nothing in return. There's a phrase for this. You can't cheat an honest woman. I think what you're saying, I see where you're getting at, Brian. I think this is actually encouraging women to get into situations where they're more likely to attract extremely unsavory types. Okay, but I apologize again. I got up on the pedestal.
It's all right. How
find
much
your time.
we've been going for about an hour and a half, and there's still another video. So how much more do you want
What are
to
the
do?
additional time codes that you have?
Well, there's one where she like has this like TikTok example.
Okay, let's see the TikTok example. Let's just finish off your time codes, basically.
All right. I'm gonna switch this to the source then. All right, here we go.
Is the threat in the room with us? And the problem with previous pre-2014, pre-Elizabeth Yardley et al. Perception of the family annihilators was that family annihilators were painted as like these obviously unhappy and frustrated men, like men whose turmoil is so visible that we think that we would know if they were going to do it. But apparently that's not representative of reality. You can never really tell.
Yes,
Okay,
you can.
listen to this.
Yeah, so it could just come out of nowhere, and plus,
How is it that I could tell? Like, seriously.
well,
How is
here's
it
the
that
other
Karen
thing.
could tell?
Here's the other thing. Like, are you just going to essentially put up with men's suffering? Like, if they're struggling or whatever, are you just going to be like, well, I don't give a fuck as long as I'm getting my bag? Are you paying for my things? Are you taking care of my kids? Are you driving me around? I don't care how miserable you are. And then all of a sudden he just like loses it. It's like, oh my God, I didn't see that coming. Well, were you there for him? Like if a man is obviously miserable and suffering, why is it you talk about it like so clinically? Like you're like no women are around. They're just like, oh, he looks really upset. Oh no, not even that. They didn't even notice. Hey, where's my whatever? Hey, where's my ring? Where's my ride? You know, like
Yeah,
where? So yeah. I mean, like it's like, do you not? Because they'll be like, well, yeah, it's like it's affecting really miserable and depressed and upset men. I mean, not that we could do. I guess we can't do anything about that. I guess there's no.
See that.
Yeah, we can't see it. We can't address it. Also, guys, you should open up about your feelings more because toxic masculinity, even though we're not listening or paying attention or having any sympathy for you whatsoever, but we'll also accuse you of having no empathy, which is one of the things that she does in this video repeatedly is basically men have no empathy. So that's why they're dangerous to women. And also women like me don't give a rat's ass about whatever it is you're going through because I just want whatever it is that you could provide. And if you can't provide anything for me, then I'm going to move on and go find somebody who will.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that she would consider it emotional labor to even recognize that if she was in a relationship with a family annihilator, he might be having some emotional difficulties. And 100% these men are. And you're right, they aren't talking. Maybe the reason why is because they don't have a partner who's going to listen to them, because that partner has listened to extremely abusive gurus who think that normal relation, like the baseline of a normal relationship for Manifestelle is the woman abusing the man financially. Like that's what she's preaching. She's saying, yeah, women should only be in relationships where they're financially abusing a man. And also, if I have to deal with anything on his part, it's emotional labor and he's abusing me. And then she's like, oh, well, where are these family annihilators coming from? Well, maybe they're coming from being expected to tolerate systemic, like what you're basically saying is that the basic relationship between man and woman is financial abuse, being told that if they have any emotional needs, it is emotional labor for their partner to have to do anything, which basically means it's basically emotional labor is a phrase used by emotional abusers to justify why they don't have to take responsibility for their emotional abuse, right? So you're right, Brian. She is 100% advocating an approach that will increase women's likelihood of being in this kind of situation. Of course, it's more likely that it's going to increase women's likelihood of inducing their partners to commit suicide as a result of their domestic violence. But, it marginally, it's increasing the extremely, extremely unlikely circumstance that they will be in a relationship with a family annihilator as well. I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
She's encouraging the kind of behavior that creates family annihilators.
Yeah.
Like, if that's what they're saying is that
and
these
again,
guys
she's
don't
completely
talk about it.
removed. She's completely removed from that, like her part to play in any of that,
Mhm.
because it's always the men.
It's always the men. So
Yeah.
essentially what you do is you construct a role for men in which they have no personhood whatsoever. They exist solely to serve your needs. And you can be as abusive as you want to them verbally, physically, and they just need to absorb it. And you wonder why one day one or two of them cracks. Like if I were saying this about an abused woman, no one would bat an eye. Like she spends her entire life being verbally and physically abused by men, and then one day she just snaps. Nobody's like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. But how come the same doesn't apply for men? Especially the men who get entrapped potentially by the women being informed by her. Right off the bat,
Mm-hmm.
she is constructing a relationship ideal that is abusive towards men financially.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And not taking any responsibility for the fallout if women should listen to her. Okay, yeah, you're right, Brian. She is the pipeline.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, just
All right.
finish
Let's do a
whatever
little bit
time.
more. Yeah. Let's play a little bit more of this.
Yes. Fox and Levin had painted a picture of the family annihilator as an unhappy and frustrated man whose life was characterized by a long history of failure. Whilst this may have been relevant in some cases, it did not apply across the board, most notably when examining cases of men who had at one stage been highly successful and accomplished professionals. And here's another one. Family annihilators were overwhelmingly not known to criminal justice or mental health services. For all intents and purposes, they were loving husbands and good fathers, often holding down high-profile jobs and seen publicly as being very, very successful. And what's more, family
Wait, let me finish this really quick, because I pay attention to the pattern you're seeing here.
annihilators have received little attention as a separate category of unaliver. And it's so true. The biggest, most recent case most people can think of is the Watts case, where the father.
Well, it's just another example. What were you going to say, Allison?
That case is from 2018. Okay, 6 years, huh? All right. Well, anyway.
Well, a single case doesn't mean anything. It's a case. Like you can find a case to represent any argument, and if you're willing to turn a case into data, it doesn't mean anything. Like, yeah, there are people who murder people in the world. Hello, you don't live in heaven, you live on earth. That's the way it is. So when you say, well, because this happened and it shouldn't happen, then I'm going to complain and make this into like a thing that's much bigger than it really is. I mean, it's a tragedy, but guess what? You can find stories of women killing their children and stuff too, but I'm not going to make that into a thing about women.
Yeah, well, I mean, only in so far as we say that, women also do bad.
Yes.
Not that are exclusively responsible for bad, which is the difference here. Well, what I was picking up, the pattern I'm picking up is that these men have a lot of pressure on them as the sole providers or the primary providers of their families, which is why they're even when you're talking about the guys who are failures, well, by whose metric? By the standard of provision. So what I'm getting at, I don't know if she makes this point, I'll have to defer to you, But maybe she's saying the pressure being put on men by being sole providers leads them to become family annihilators in a very rare circumstance, honestly.
No, no, that's not what she's claiming. What she lands on is men being men undeserving. So okay, we have to work backwards with feminist logic. Okay, so we have men who have killed their families and themselves, and the reason is because they're sad, and the reason is because they're losers that are not able to, like, provide the appropriate amount of comfort for their families, and they take it out on their poor homesteading wife or whatever. And I think that in many of these cases too, by the way, the women are also working, but Manifestelle never mentions that, because very few people can make it on this economy with a single income. And so I think the norm is that women work part-time and men work full-time. And that's probably what the situation is for most of us, unless, again, we're lucky. But of a man that is high status at first, if he experiences a change, which can happen, economies they change, the job market changes. Some, people get laid off, companies get bought out. So you find a situation happens and the man goes from high value to middle value, perhaps. And what Manifestelle is not essentially accounting for is that women who are married to men who go from a higher status to a lower status are actually going to be there's a much higher chance they're going to be very dissatisfied, and they're going to blame it on him, and he's going to feel pressure to try to go back up to that standard he was at, that bar he was at before. And this, to me, is not a problem of men. This is a problem with women, because if a woman marries a man, then she has partaken in a series of vows or promises to work with him no matter what the situation is. If you marry somebody and you're a millionaire and you go and you move into a mansion in Oklahoma and it's knocked down by a freaking tornado, and then you have to live within your means for a while you're waiting for the insurance to go through or whatever it is, the woman has to stay with you just like you would with her. If you marry a woman and it turns out that she's unable to have kids, I don't think the men just go, well, I guess I'm leaving then. That this is not what marriage is supposed to be, but this is what it has become. Again, this goes back to how materialistic Manifestelle and modern women are. They don't see anything outside of, what do I get out of this? And what's funny about this too is that, when we did a video where I think Lauren Chen and Carl Benjamin were talking about the dating market, and Carl was talking about how much he hates this thing that he says men do, where it's what do you bring to the table, right? Literally women do this. Literally women do this, and they do this while claiming they are the table. That's how you get to this point. That's how you get to the point where men are breaking their backs just so that women won't divorce them. That's what they're doing. This is the reality. And women, by the way, are voting to make the economy and men's job harder. They're bringing in they're voting for open borders. They're voting to print more money. They're voting for more social programs. They're voting for free freaking abortions, whatever. And all of this costs money, and they don't even see that what their decisions do to the men in their lives. This is how callous this whole thing is.
Yeah. Well, so it isn't her saying the pressure to be a sole or primary breadwinner is leading to men feeling like their family's existence is on their shoulders, which may lead men to think okay, if I'm incapable of taking care of them, maybe I should just put them out of their misery and then put myself out of the misery. And again, we're talking about a massive edge case here, guys. This is massively eclipsed both by men's suicide, period, but also men's suicide due to domestic violence done to them by women. That's another thing that we don't talk about. Like men's suicide is a result of experiencing domestic violence that they think they can't escape. Nobody's talking about it. That is a couple, I think it must be 10, potentially 100 times worse than this, what she's talking about. But we're not even going to talk about that. That's not even important. We need to talk about a family annihilator from 2018.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So so she doesn't go there. She doesn't say that. She says
No,
that
she's essentially saying that
it's male
okay,
entitlement that causes it.
yeah,
Let's hear what she has to
yeah,
say.
I think so.
Let's just hear what she has to say.
All right.
Father unalived his wife and 2 girls to be with his new girlfriend, but it's a lot more common than once in a blue moon. And honestly, the
Wait.
girlies are already starting.
This is
No,
unusual.
it's common because she
very
said
unusual.
so.
This is actually very unusual for men. They usually kill themselves. So you might have actually found a genuine psycho.
Well, but maybe that was what was attractive too. I mean, who knows? There was probably all kinds of red flags.
So who
Could have
was
been.
the one who killed like her kids because she felt like it? Oh yeah, there was actually a woman recently who killed her daughter, single mother, because she felt it would interfere with her career as a lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay, Manifestelle, no, you're distorting this issue. This is where all the idiots that I have to deal with in Twitter come from, isn't it? Oh my God, men are at war with us. Okay, so the one group of
Women can't. I think sometimes women just can't conceive of a world where they are responsible for anything, and that everything. Because if you believe that it's a man's world and that men built everything and men control everything and men run everything, then that means that anything that happens to you, even if you do it to yourself, if you like put your hand on the stove and burn it, it's men's fault because men built everything. So women accept men's omnipotence so that they can blame them.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is that the women who are influenced by women like Manifestelle will honestly say things like men are at war with women. So the genetic group of people, the group of mammals that actually gives a fuck about your existence on a genetic level is at war with you. Because men are the only mammals on Earth that from the start cared about women and cared about women's survival. And they're at war with, no, they're not. This is just an insult you're leveling in order to obscure what you're up to. All right, let's go finish up your time codes.
All right.
If we have to, we'll make this a 2-parter. We'll do more.
Yeah, it's fine.
Starting to talk about it. Late last year, this TikTok video went viral and it reads, "White men because they no longer want to be a married father of 4, but divorce is never an option." And she first points the phone at her head and then points it at other people, basically as a joke to say that these men would threaten to do bad things to themselves, but really they do bad things to the people around them, aka their family. And no, I cannot play the video, but check it out if you want. Okay? And
this
video
is
so viral.
bullshit. What the hell? Like, this is just it's just hate. Like, this is just ugly shit.
Yep.
And nobody
It is just hate. Just hate.
And even conservatives don't consistently call this stuff out. They're off doing the shit about the woman who in the Olympics, which affects like what, one woman? This is an entire cultural custom. We are creating a culture where misandry is just the norm. And this is horrible.
Yeah.
And all conservatives can do is try to find yet another group of men to blame. Trans women. This is perpetuated by women. Look at the cancer they're creating, that women are creating. And this isn't just one dude, one high-profile dude who apparently nobody can bring me anything that he said that's equal to just the average thing that comes out of Manifestelle's mouth. Like, look at this. This is a gigantic, horrific, fucking elder god being manifested through the collective thoughts of your daughters. We need to deal with this shit.
Yep.
Somebody needs to deliver the spankings.
Definitely.
In in Castle
Oh,
Anthrax.
oh,
After having
almost.
lit the-
Let me play through some more of these.
Viral because I mean it's a thing.
Shut up.
Like, why is no one
So, this is just moronic. She's like, it's viral, therefore it's true. This is woman logic right here. Woman math, hoe math. I saw it online. It must be true.
Okay.
Like, you
I
should
will-
just like. I'm sorry, but if you like agree, if you go on social media and say, I saw a TikTok video and now it's data, you should not get the right to vote. Boom, revoked. You're a moron. Go work at a Starbucks. Do something productive. Sorry, that's what I say. This is stupidity, and it's
Okay, but I'm still not
used to
getting-
justify evil.
Okay, I'm still not getting like a premise here. It's like,
Well, I saw it on TikTok. Therefore, it's real.
No, but what is
This
the
this
premise?
happens. What's
Okay,
the
so-
what?
okay, but she's using actual research, and then somehow we segued from actual research to a single
Well,
killer who did
but it's-
this with
it's
the
feminist
motive-
research. Yeah.
Well, feminist research, but it was research into family annihilators. Now we've moved to a man who did this with the usual motive that it seems women have when they do this thing, which is children are an inconvenience, get rid of them. I'm just saying it, and then they don't fail to kill themselves. And now we've moved from this to this viral TikTok meme. Manifestelle, the study that you shared does not show any support for your anecdotal, your decision to cherry pick this one killer, or any support for your viral TikTok video. You have just presented an argument that is a self-contradiction. Okay? So what is it that I guess she's just presenting an emotion of outrage. Because she's just moved from, okay, the reason why,
Well,
again,
I think it's like, if I can, like, I think that her thing is that she wants to deliver a message, and the
Yeah, but-
message she wants to deliver is that men, even like traditional minded, husband material, willing to work to support his family, and also asking that of a woman. Those men are actually very dangerous and very scary because, yeah. So like, there's a narrative, and everything else just has to support the narrative. And the conclusion is
here-
women be afraid.
She has directly contradicted the research that she presented. Because if we were going on with the research, it's because these men have the pressure of feeling like they're providers, and because apparently there are no signs because they either don't express their emotions, or wait, I see what she's saying. She's saying that there are no signs because it's not because of them feeling the pressure of providers. It's actually, even though the research shows that the mass majority of male family annihilators do not resemble Chris, the guy she showed, nor do they resemble whatever this woman is parroting. They resemble men who are apparently overwhelmed. They just don't talk to anybody about it. But she's saying that actually means they're sociopaths who are doing this, who are all like Chris. Okay, well, why is it that Chris didn't kill himself, but the majority of male family annihilators did? Okay, don't you see the difference there, Manifestelle? You see where what you're painting? And again, we exist in a framework where this even matters, which it doesn't. It's a vanishingly small problem. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
All right.
I'm talking about this? Okay, so let's get into the comments. Someone said,
It's like a universal agreement that this is how they will handle it. Even when they simply lose a job, this is their reaction.
and maybe it's because these annihilators have been socialized to never learn and develop empathy.
Okay, so
they
now
were never
wait,
socialized.
what? Now white men are synonymous with family annihilators.
Well, just men. I mean, white men is an easy way to say men without getting in trouble.
Okay, so men are just family annihilators now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The payload is that this is not something that happens with a specific group of men under specific circumstances, because that's not good enough. The payload must be, this can be any men at any point no matter how normal you think he is.
I don't think
This
Andrew
is-
does this. I don't think Andrew Tate goes to the serial murder rapist wing of the female prison and say, yeah, this is all women.
Exactly. No, of course not.
He
This is
doesn't
why
do
there.
this.
No, there's no comparison, Allison.
There's
Like Andrew Tate is gynocentric too. Everybody in the chat knows this. This is why, like, the whole like, have you refuted Andrew Tate today thing? It drives me up the wall. It's pointless. Why? Why are you asking me to do this? I'm dealing with hateful people like this person. This person. This is demonic, and this is not like obscure. This isn't one person. Like, a lot of girls believe this shit. They're like programmed. They're so susceptible to propaganda. It's very easy to make them hate men. That's why I think Manifestelle honestly works for the Chinese government. It's not just because she looks Asian, although I think that's a big part of it, but you see this all the time. Like, and it works. It works on women. This is huge. Anyway.
Let's finish this off.
All right. Let's finish it off.
We might have to do a part 2 tomorrow.
Yeah, I
Is to
think so.
see non-adult male human beings as human, so they objectify their family and see them merely as extensions of themselves,
What
as Bill.
the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah, that's what
is
men
this
do.
Shit. Men don't see other people as human. Okay, we are definitely going to have to do some video from our awesome channel after this. What the fuck is this shit? If they didn't see you as human, you would be treated like livestock, Manifestelle. You wouldn't be able to do these videos because you would exist in a freaking pen eating fodder.
She is essentially engaging in, she's just dehumanizing men. That's like her whole channel. It's just dehumanize men, and do it on loop constantly. I don't know how often she releases videos, but it's obviously they're low effort. She sits down on a pillow, probably in front of her camera with a white background, and just says, "Let's look at the comments. Here's what I think. Men are bad. Men are bad. Men are bad." And then 45 minutes later, she's like, "Good night, girlies. Sleep tight." It's like being told a horror story when you're 2, and then expected to just sleep normal afterwards. This is all it is. It's just anti-male, dehumanizing propaganda all day. That's why I don't find, and honestly, that's why I don't find these responses like at all useful, because all I go to do is point and say, yeah, she hates men, and she wants all women to hate men or at least fear them. That's the goal. And it doesn't matter. The logic, irrelevant. And you know what? You don't need it, because a lot of women, they're not exercising their logic brain. They're just going, oh yeah, men are scary. I heard it on TikTok. I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe women should have to pass a test to be able to use social media. Maybe there should just be like a test, an entry level exam, kind of like to get a driver's license. You have to get a license to go on social media so that you're not driven insane by crazy narcissistic asshats like this woman. But anyway, I have spoken enough. She really frustrates me. And you know what? The other person that we haven't gotten to, not much better. I mean, I don't even want to get into it, but she's Canadian, which is part of the problem. And and the other thing is that what she says about the truckers, the protest guys, I mean, like, these people, they should, honestly, these women should have their supply lines cut off for like 48 hours. Just like have no access to the shit that men do for 48 hours. They will be begging to be chained to the kitchen.
Ugh. Well, I mean, men don't have to do this stuff. That's the thing. And this is their reward. They are literally, men are taking the jobs that are the dirtiest, the least sanitary, the least comfortable, the most painful. And the only incentive they get is something that's basically a lie at this point, which is they'll be able to afford a family, or women will be interested in them, because that's what motivates men. And they do this, and this is the stuff that it's terrifying work, it's painful work. They don't have to do this. And the reward is that they're basically constructing a society where women like this can say shit like this. But I'm actually still like, we still haven't connected the dots. The crazy straw still doesn't have another end, because she says that it's a trad husband to family annihilator pipeline, not the white man to is a family annihilator.
I mean, she
Right?
could just be assuming that white men are trad husbands. I mean, like, really normal men are essentially trad husbands. Like normal men that don't have a label for it. You would just ask them, hey, you ask like I was when I went to visit my family in Chicago, I saw my nephew. He's 19, he's starting college soon, 6 foot something, just a beast of a boy, and plays rugby. And I'm like, hey man, like what are your plans? And he's like, for a job. And he's like, oh, I want to become an electrician. I think I'm gonna marry my girl, and we're gonna like get a house and pump out some kids. Wow, what a radical trad position. No, it's just my nephew doing what, I mean, obviously I told him, look, man, just be careful because, the system is fucked. But hey, if it works, it works. But like, so like, if it's just what normal men want, I think actually when you give it a label, when you call it something like a trad thing or whatever, you're actually trying to like associate some negative traits with it. Allison, your typing is really loud.
Wait, sorry, I'm going to mute.
All right.
I'm just having some guys saying the male loneliness epidemic is caused by men not wanting to adapt. It's not women's fault. It's so funny because they always have to say it's not women's fault, like some kind of incantation, as if they're trying to prevent themselves to coming to some conclusion, which is the opposite of what they're saying. It's like, Satan, get behind me, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm the one who suggested my nephew get into the trades, by the way, which I think he's gonna make bank. Yeah, I think so.
I mean, you might as well.
I just hope he can pick the woman. He's dating somebody. I guess she's nice. I don't know. She's met my mother.
Good luck to him.
Yeah, good luck to him.
Okay, let's finish this off.
All right. Well, the next bit that I think is relevant is like
I was promised a trad husband to family annihilator pipeline, and so far all that's been delivered is a
man bad narrative.
Yeah, man bad. Like family narrative, like family annihilators are white men. And I guess the implication that white men are trad husbands because they actually stay with their kids and raise them for the most part. Okay.
Oh, I got a super chow I should read.
Oh yeah, I really should have done.
Or not a super chow, a rumble rant from OIC gave us $1. I think it's $1. I can't really see it. And says, "Oh God, it's the empathy thing. Women act like it's not a natural human emotion that's built into all people that are not genetically screwed up." Women's empathy is a different kind of empathy. They think that men have the same. That's what I think they think. They think that they have a special empathy, special superpower, super empathy.
Which apparently is denying that men have emotions at all. And saying that men are just worse than us. That's empathy, guys.
They got ultra instinct empathy, Super Saiyan 3 empathy.
You think that having empathy for something like a dog is being able to understand its language and caring about it and knowing what it needs? But no, actually, based on the logic that women like this present around empathy, it's actually kicking it hard, really hard, so that it suffers. And that's actual empathy. You think caring about a dog is empathy? No, kicking it in the head is empathy. That's the logic. And then saying if it bites you, oh, there was something wrong. It's bad. It's the bad one.
Yep.
And literally, that's what they do. They say something hateful. They kick men. And then when men are like, hey, that's hateful, they're like, oh, look at that. Men are so bad.
Super weird, dude.
Yeah,
this is weird.
Yeah, it
All
is.
Right. Let's get through some more of these.
The older women.
Do you want to do the other one tomorrow or the rest of this one?
The older women that came before you. What?
Yeah, just trust the older women who came before you.
What the older women that came.
Let me go back a little bit.
Play out. Yeah.
In careers, but like Okay, you don't need to learn this one firsthand. Like, just trust all the older women
with
that
what?
came before
With
you.
what?
Do
What-
not do
what is
it.
she-
Okay?
Do not do
Do
what?
not do what? Okay, hold on. I think it's about surviving men.
Survive in the world by surviving men. That's why I call our spoiled girly episodes classes, because us girlies are really using everything as a learning experience to survive and thrive and vibe in the world. Okay, we are such good accumulators, aggregators, and curators of knowledge because we have to be.
She is
This morbid
flattering to
curiosity.
deceive. She's flattering to deceive. The world is nothing like what she's saying. She's constructing a cage to put whoever listens to this in. A lot of women, apparently. She's constructing a cage of fear.
Yep.
You don't have to spend this much time worrying about things unless you want to, which I'm suspecting is what's really happening here.
She's a psycho.
Yeah, I know she's a psycho, but sure. Lots of people seem to really believe in her work.
They do. It's effective.
I wonder what the downvote is, because she's got 10,000.
Oh, I don't have the plugin. I don't know.
I do. I can find out.
Okay. Yeah, find out. I doubt it's a lot though. I think that because the thing is when women, no matter how demonic it is, no matter how satanic they sound, when women are saying things, everyone just is really charitable to them. They're just like, oh well, she's just mad.
No, I don't know. I have to deal with the plugin. Like, also, she's flattering to deceive. You don't have these qualities as a woman because you're a woman. You have them as an individual when you develop them. And the more you think that you have them as a woman, the less you develop them as an individual, which means you don't have them at all. Right? If you're just sitting there and thinking, oh, I can run 100 meters in like 30 seconds, right? Or whatever the record is. And you think that you can do that because you're a woman. Because you're a woman, you will never get off your ass and train to do it as an individual. So everything that she says you have, you don't have because you haven't developed it as an individual. And she's simply flattering you. You don't have these skills because you haven't developed them. So when you need them, like those two women who were dating a man who was willing to kill a woman if she walked away from him, when you need them, like I almost instantly picked up that this guy was bad news. When you need them, you don't have them because you've been flattered into thinking you have skills you don't.
Yeah,
I hate this, like, oh, women, you're so adaptable. Oh, women, you're X, Y, and Z. Bullshit. You're nothing for being a woman except being able to give birth, and women don't want to do that anymore. There's nothing that being a woman gives you except more deference when you speak and the ability to give a birth. Everything else is personal, individual development. And why the hell would you want to live in a world where you're handed everything at birth and all it does is degrade? Why wouldn't you want to live in a world where what you build for yourself defines your world and it gets better as you get better at it? Like, okay, let's keep going.
Okay, we're gonna play some more.
Fascination with bad men and desire to learn how to stay safe by being in unsafe situations may also be what drives women, especially younger women, to pick the bad boys early on in their dating careers. But okay, you don't need to learn this one firsthand. Like, just trust all the older women that came before you. Do not do it. Okay? How about that? So now let's get into a reaction.
What, do not choose bad boys?
Do not. Yeah, she's suggesting that women not choose bad boys.
That doesn't. Okay, so what are these older women? Did she record? Did she show something with older women giving younger women advice?
No, she's trying to say that her content is like this is a product of her wisdom and the women who came before her that gave her this, probably academic feminists and things like this.
Well, I'm guessing the actual, like, what I was seeing is completely absent in this, which is that the pressure put on men to be sole providers might make them think that their family's entire existence rests on them, which may get them into a very depressed state where they think that if they can't manage, then everybody, they put everybody out of their misery. See what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
that's a really charitable take, but yes, I mean it's actually
no,
logical in a way, but that's not her
I think that's what I'm
position.
doing. I'm just applying my natural logic and inability to see things in a compassionate way from men's point of view to whatever it is she's saying, and also trying to complete the title that she put out.
Yeah, well,
You're right.
I don't think again that you're thinking about this in too much of a logical way and not in the how do
logical,
I
charitable, and compassionate.
how do I propagandize women to hate and fear men? That's basically what this whole thing is. It's all of her content. I don't know if you noticed.
Reaction video to that first video.
Y'all know I love a good research article, and I definitely can link this for you if anyone's interested, where it just explores the concept of family annihilation, but through the lens of masculinity and toxic patriarchy, and how these are things that can contribute to why there are so many high demographics and statistics of family annihilation in the US.
And
So there you go. So it's a feminist that, because of course, toxic patriarchy. Let's just put all the words in there.
Toxic masculinity was about
toxic masculine. No, she said toxic patriarchy. We have a new buzzword that just dropped. And honestly, you're not even supposed to understand what these mean. You're just supposed to have an emotional reaction when they say toxic, when they say patriarchy, when they say men. You're just supposed to have a reaction, and it works. It works on women.
It's so frustrating because I think you and me, we're sitting there and we're watching all of these women shit in the town water supply.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just going there, they're shitting and they're shitting and they're shitting and they're shitting some more. They're just streams of shit into the town water supply. And we're like, you know how you get dysentery? This is how you get dysentery. And everybody's like, don't be a misogynist. And they just keep shitting. These women like her, she's just squatting, taking a long turd in the town water supply. Imagine that's what the face she's making as she does it too. Just plop, 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 more and more shit into the dam, drinking more shit, breathing more shit, ingesting more shit, getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And we're like, we need to stop doing this. It's going to end up being a big fucking problem. Just watch the dam of shit get overloaded, start to break down. It's coming.
Yep.
Good God.
Very exciting. All right. A little bit. Let's.
Also, shout out to Elsevier for providing open access to articles, to studies funded by public funds. Okay, like we the public are really out here paying our taxes, paying.
Oh, shut up! Come on, let's get to the bit. Just take me to the.
This is feminist scholarship. It's scholarship.
Yeah, it's the worst kind of scholarship, and I mean, like most scholarship is pretty awful now, and they are making it available for free. Why not? We're just trying to propagandize the entire half of the population and more, because if we can get men to buy into this stuff, it's double plus good.
That's one of my beefs with the world. Like, make it make sense. Anyway, let's get into this article. We're gonna call Homer, Shide, and Suicide HNS, okay? From now on.
Oh my God. Just homicide and suicide. These words, they're just words.
She doesn't want to get demonetized. Or
she's not gonna get demonetized. Like, I know people do that, but it just annoys me. Like, can we just, if we can't say the words we mean, we can't have a conversation. I don't want to dance around the words. But whatever. Homicide, because that doesn't mean anything. And sushi slide, whatever.
Men are overwhelmingly the perpetrators in HNS, and yet the HNS literature so far discussed places no emphasis on the gender of perpetrators. There appears to be little.
So
previous study talked about
men. So there's a claim. The claim is that men are overwhelmingly the perpetrators of homicide and suicide, and yet the homicide and suicide literature so far discussed places no emphasis on the gender of perpetrators. There appears to be little interest in the issue of the relationship between masculinity and homicide and suicide.
Oh, look. Hey, Brian, Today we learned that men who suicide are perpetrators.
Yes.
Victims, perpetrators.
They're perpetrators of suicide.
Nobody should
And-
listen to this. This is ideologically driven, and right there, that's obvious. The fact
Yeah.
that they would characterize suicide victims as perpetrators is sick shit.
Yes, it is. Okay. Let's play some more of this. Source back up.
Interest in the issue of the relationship between masculinity and H&S. I mean, I wonder why there's little interest. Moving on, specific.
Yeah, because men, the patriarchy's colluded to hide it when men commit suicide.
There's
What?
no,
You-
what the fuck? There's no, what are you talking about? There's no scholarship on the fact that homicide and suicide is majority male. There's an entire branch of feminist like, what the fuck are they talking? We are not doing what we are doing. Didn't you know? We are not doing what we are doing. In fact, we never did what we are doing now, which is this is such.
Oh, and that's Brown Miller. Brown Miller isn't she?
Brown Miller. Oh yeah, she was the one who
Yeah,
said
Brown Miller.
Emmett Till and
Yeah.
was benefited by a system that ended up with him being lynched.
Yeah.
That's a really great source there. You know that Emmett Till's may get justice because the woman who was involved in his lynching, and I actually said that recently on Twitter, but her name always escapes me. They had an outstanding warrant for her arrest that they found in the system. So she may actually still see justice done, or at least retroactively if she's dead.
I
But
think
yeah.
she might be dead. But
Yeah,
all right,
well, maybe
anyway.
maybe
Yeah.
they'll exhume this bitch's corpse and hang it. Like, but honestly, like the fact that Susan Brown Miller used Emmett Till as a way to justify women's oppression is astounding. Did you think about it? But let's continue. Let's go on.
All right. Let's see. We got like 2 more time codes. So
Forms of masculinity are constructed in specific situations and practices within social settings, produce, reproduce, and alter types of masculinity.
Dot, dot, dot.
It has been suggested that in
fuck?
any given
it's just gobbledygook. So, I mean, if she's just gonna read it, I could just read it too.
In any
Like, do we
given-
want to hear
Yeah, just
read it? Okay.
Let's hear you read it.
All right, Connell 1995 has suggested. Let me switch the camera. You guys can might be better anyways.
Yeah, let's just
Connell
forget it.
1995 has suggested that in any given historical period, there is a hegemonic form of masculinity, already bullshit, that is socially and culturally prioritized over other subordinate forms of masculinity, also bullshit. Connell defines hegemonic masculinity as hegemonic masculinity, by the way, is just another way of saying toxic masculinity. They have multiple ways of reframing the same narrative. Defines hegemonic masculinity as, quote, the configuration of gender practice which embodies the currently accepted answer to the problem of the legitimacy of patriarchy, which guarantees or is taken to guarantee the dominant position of men and the subordination of women. Sounds like
Okay.
commie gobbledygook.
No,
You want to
this is
deconstruct
just
that?
feminist gobbledygook. Like,
Yeah, it
You
is.
don't even need to appeal to commie. This is just bad as it is. Okay, what this means is that hegemonic masculinity is whatever masculinity supports patriarchy. That's it.
Yeah.
They're not even talking about looking at what masculinity is and what masculinities are actually marginalized. They're just looking at, well, whatever supports our theory about how society is structured. Right? That's that. And what a surprise. What they're looking for, they find, or they manipulate the statistics to show. Because I would like to propose something. Hegemonic masculinity is a form of masculinity that is socially and culturally prioritized over other subordinate forms of masculinity. Would a subordinate form of masculinity be criminal behavior of men that causes the society of men to take away their freedom, put them in a box, and subject them to punishment up to and including killing them? So how is it that the behavior of men that causes other men to put them in boxes or kill them is somehow more evidence of how men structure society than the behavior of men who are putting them in the boxes? You see what I'm saying? Like the behavior, the overwhelming behavior of men towards altruistic punishment and controlling the nasty ass behavior of criminal men, that is not hegemonic masculinity. In fact, it is the behavior of men who are socially marginalized, physically incarcerated, and in some cases killed by other men that characterizes patriarchy, the system. Even though the system literally is persecuting them. They are the ones who the system holds above all else. Okay, can I read? Hegemonic masculinity is supported in the last instance by violence and the understanding of domestic violence, which follows that the end game of a range of behaviors designated to intimidate women, from wolf whistling in the street to office harassment. See, I just said it. Okay, all of these behaviors, which institutions full of men,
my wolf whistling.
institutions full of men are actually trying to prevent, except for wolf whistling because it falls under free speech. Which, oh yeah, I wanted to say something.
Well, not in the UK, it doesn't. Get you thrown in jail.
Content like this presents the system correcting itself based on principles that are required for its maintenance, like proper judicial process. So example, overturning Roe versus Wade. That was bad law. There are reasons why it was bad law. There was reasons why overturning it benefits all US citizens, right? That getting rid of that overreach benefits all US citizens. That returning the question to the states, to the local government, benefits all US citizens. So this was the system correcting a problem that was interfering with the running of that system and the maintenance of the rights of the citizens within that system.
Mm-hmm.
Feminism has framed the system correcting and fixing itself as violence against women, as oppression of women. So now we're in a situation where if the system simply does something to fix itself so it can continue maintaining everything that women enjoy, women freak out like it's an attack against them. You see what I'm saying? And this is the other thing. Like they do not, I swear to God, this is the biggest problem with women is they don't understand how systems work. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Men come together and they have constructed a system to try to create a balance between protecting women, and it's only protecting women because protecting women is women are the only class that have unique laws around protecting them. And incidentally, they've had unique laws and social customs around protecting them since the beginning of agricultural society and the writing down of law. Okay? So men have come together to construct a system with unique physical protections of women, but also trying to balance protecting women with giving men the freedom to be able to construct and maintain the system and the productivity necessary to provide for and protect women. So there's a balance here, and they give men authority and freedom. So the wolf whistling comes in under freedom of speech, which is something necessary for the free flow of information and ideas, which is absolutely integral to something like a post-industrial society and the innovations therein, which are absolutely integral to the productivity of a post-industrial society. So if we get rid of free speech, women are starving, essentially. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So we have to allow a little bit of wolf whistling or men being able to say nasty things. Only usually a particular group of men that we won't point out. But anyway, we have to tolerate that because we need to encourage the principles that underlie the productivity of the system. Okay? We can't do everything. We're not in heaven. We're not in utopia. Utopia is not possible, right? Women look at that and they look at the negatives they have to endure and say that men hate them and the men are at war with them. And it's like, no, everything can't be perfect. Reality can't be made perfect for you. There are trade-offs. You cannot get rid of evil yet on this particular dimension. Okay? So there are trade-offs. That's what's happening. Nobody's at war with you. They're trying to balance certain of your interests. Okay? If your husband wants to be able to feed you, he has to leave the house at 9 and leave you alone. Okay? It's just balancing your interest, you see? Now, if women understood systems, they would understand that. In general, if women had that, if women didn't, you know the test that they do on college entrance exams that 40% of women who I think have a college degree actually fail? It's the tipping the jar. You have water in a jar.
Yeah.
You show an image of a jar that's upright like this with a certain amount of water in it, and then you tip the jar and you show the water level in different configurations. And women fail that because they don't see that this is a two-dimensional representation of a three-dimensional object that's affected by gravity. Apparently, they just see it as a form of decoration. So they just change the tilt of the decorative element and they choose that one. It's like, no, water doesn't stay level when you tilt the damn thing. And even in 0G, it doesn't do that. And 40% of women who go to college consistently fail that test. This has an effect on how women understand the world, which then has an effect on how they vote. They don't understand that this is just the system writing itself. Roe versus Wade. They don't understand we need freedom of speech to continue to have a productive society. Thus, wolf whistling is an unfortunate result of that. So you see what I'm saying? And women like this, instead of explaining these things to women in a way that they can understand, in a way that they relate to, and I'm not trying to be patronizing, because women also, you know, like, I fully believe that men have their own form of irrationality, you know, and I'm not intending to be patronizing.
Sure.
Are encouraging the misunderstanding and the fear as a result of it because they make money off of it.
Yeah, but I also think that what we are experiencing is a natural consequence of protecting women from the consequences of their actions and decisions for the last 60 or 70 years. So I think that even now, Manifestelle can say all of this crazy stuff and not think that it is all crazy at all. And she's also like her particular focus, the things that she sees as problems, they feel really small because she's so safe from everything else. Let me put it in some perspective. And I'm sorry, but most women, they're not aware of this. I know that we are because it's kind of like our job to be, but I think that most women are not aware of this, okay? So we are on the verge of World War III. There are people in the Middle East that want this to happen. We are losing men all over the world, not Americans. I'm not even making this about this country. I'm talking about we're in wars all over the world where men are dying in droves for basically like bankers that have no interest in that. Like they're just dying for no reason. That's happening. Our border is wide open. Our money has been printed to near oblivion. Like we are struggling in all of these significant areas, and there's like the future of the West is in like danger, like serious danger. And Manifestelle's concern is that there is a fringe percentage of men that have occasionally lost their minds, committed suicide, and killed their families. Not in that order. And that's her focus, or getting that bag. Like this is how safe you are. This is how safe from the world you are, that you're able to make criticisms of things that are so inconsequential, and yet your followers see it and they're like, oh yeah, this is serious stuff. I got to worry about, like, you know, getting the new phone. I got to worry about whether or not, like when I go to the Whole Foods, if the stuff's going to be in the back. Like, I'm not thinking about the fact that my money doesn't buy the same shit that it used to because I don't make my own money. I use his money. I'm getting his bag while securing my bag. So as long as I have that, none of this other stuff matters. I don't have a duty to society. I don't have to do anything to like try to address this issue. This is all men's fault. They have all the power. They're omnipotent. So if everything goes to shit, it's obviously going to be their fault. And I'm going to be blaming them from, the freaking crater that used to be the city that I lived in because it's all gone to shit. And like, so I'm saying you're so safe from the world. I can't take whatever you say seriously. I just can't, because you're not saying anything. Like, that's why I get mad. It's like, do you know what's going on in the Middle East? Do you know what's going on in Ukraine? Do you know what's going on in Taiwan? Do you know what's going on with our money? Do you know what's going on with our food? Do you know what's going on at the border? Oh no, you're
saying
no.
that is misogyny.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's me being hegemonically
you're right.
patriarchal.
You can't take what she's saying seriously, except what she's saying is man bad, which is only going to increase the problems.
Yes,
Like
it is. It's adding to the problem. Yes.
They're shitting in the town water, and we're wondering why everyone's getting dysentery. Well, this is why. But my final conclusion with that whole hegemonic masculinity. Obviously, it's not hegemonic masculinity. The billions of men throughout society who have built the entire edifice of the justice system, which jails rapists and domestic abusers of women, not so much domestic abusers and rapists of men, but definitely domestic abusers and rapists of women, and has had penalties, even when there weren't prisons or an prison industrial complex. They had penalties against men abusing women in these ways. Billions of men throughout history have constructed and enforced a system that marginalizes and punishes men who harm women, right? But that's not hegemonic masculinity. No, it's the criminals being marginalized by this massive effort by men who are the real rulers of the society that marginalizes them. This is bullshit. Like, this paper should have come before a peer review, like a peer panel.
I don't know. The panel be feminists that all like stamp it approved.
Like a real one.
Does it hate men? Yes.
Yeah,
A plus.
Should have been thrown out on those grounds.
Yeah.
You are proposing that men are more defined by the behaviors of men who are completely marginalized in the system, completely, who end up in jail, end up being legitimately murdered, as in the guy who murders them doesn't go to jail himself for murder because it's seen as as an overall good. You are going to characterize their behavior as the hegemonic masculine behavior and the behavior of those billions of men throughout history to marginalize them as, oh, I guess that was a fluke. It's a fluke, Brian. That was it's a coinky-dink. Like, that just so happened. That can't be. That
weird.
Yeah, it doesn't characterize.
It's a weird coinky-dink.
All that cooperation between men through the generations to punish these other men, that doesn't characterize men's behavior. No. This is such.
Of course not.
That should have been kicked out right there. Like, why was there no one on that committee saying this is nonsense?
I think we know why.
Yeah, we know why. Yeah,
all right.
Okay.
I got a super chat. I'm going to read it. That is one more clip I have here. So
where's the super chows, guys? Send in those.
Yeah, I got to
just the tip.
Yeah, do it.
It's too quiet. You guys, don't make it a desert. Tell us, send us a super chat. And yes, I will set up the fundraiser
soon.
Yeah, soon.
All right. So Albert Data Retro, sorry. $5 Canadian. Thank you. $5 Canadian from Albert Data Retro. And he says Carolyn Bryant Donham was Till's false accusee. She died April 25th, 2023 at age 88 from long-standing kidney disease. Yeah, I feel like I remember that because we covered it on the news show when she passed. Albert Data Retro then gives another $5 Canadian and says the baby boomers were the last line of defense. Once they're gone, It's done. Gen X is too old to fight, and the generations since aren't strong enough. I wouldn't underestimate Gen X.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
maybe a
we're
little bit
fighting.
biased. Yeah.
Me and Brian are fighting. We've been fighting for 10 years.
Yeah.
Please notice
Don't count
that
Gen X out yet.
generations of women have been shitting in the town water supply. Maybe we should address this. Trans athletes, maybe a lesser problem, you know?
Actually, Zoomer men, I still have some faith in them.
Yeah,
all right,
okay.
let's play the last clip I have. So.
Attitude towards women and their reproductive capacity. Like, I mean, look at the rise of no-fault divorce bans. They literally want to trap women with men who make them suffer.
Some conservatives are targeting divorce as the next avenue to curtail women's freedoms. Let me explain. The US uses a no-fault divorce system, meaning that you don't have to prove to a judge that you deserve a divorce. So like Sophie Turner and Joe Jonas can divorce for irreconcilable differences. Our legal system assumes that it's not a good idea to force people to stay in marriages that they're unhappy in. But it wasn't always that way. Once upon a time, you would have to prove to a presumably male judge that you deserve to get a divorce. And
if it was a male judge, you were likely to be the beneficiary of chivalrous, women favoring.
Do you see the assumption that's being made here, though? Like that, presumably, like men, feminists out themselves every time they talk about the sex of the people that they are criticizing. They say, oh, well, it's a man doing this. They're always outing themselves. They always project, because what she's saying is if the courts were run by women and the lawyers were women and the politicians were women, men would get screwed in every single category, and it would be right for women to do that to them. So when she says a presumably male judge would rule over it, she's saying judges don't do the judge thing dispassionately. They are biased, and they are biased in favor of men because they are men. And what she's also telling us is that if she was a judge, she would do what would benefit women every single time. So remember, when they tell you where the bias is at, they are lying about the bias, and they are telling the truth about themselves.
Yeah. The truth is that men are lucky if they get a female judge, too, in many cases, as long as she's not a feminist. Because probably Johnny Depp managed to get a better situation because of the female judge who ruled to make it public. Yeah, and actually feminists were dead set against her because they thought she was like a father favoring judge, and if a female judge is not feminist, often they will give men a better deal than a male judge.
Mm-hmm. So, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just like, the other thing is that, so in the past, when men ruled society, like, do divorces benefit men? Like, is that what you're trying to say here?
Yeah, well, no, she's trying to say that, what she's trying to say is that no-fault divorce is a small protection that women have from ending up in marriages where they're unhappy, and it's the only thing that is, first of all, essentially keeping them safe from unhappy marriages.
Because of the woman getting bored most often, not abuse.
Because that's what no-fault divorce enables. That's why no-fault divorce is garbage.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what, I don't know what they're being a victim of. With fault divorce, one of the grounds for divorce was abuse. No-fault divorce enables women to walk away from marriages that they're just bored with, or I don't know, they've fallen onto hard times, or the guy just doesn't do it for them, or they're, it's just. So what is your complaint? You can't use the fact that abusive marriages exist to say that, well, when we could only divorce because the marriage was abusive, then blah blah blah. Well, that was a cause for divorce in the past. It's been the cause for divorce even in Victorian times. And here's the other thing. I sort of agree that this is the wrong approach for conservatives. What they should do is they should make custody of children 50-50, and child support, get rid of it. Just make custody of children 50-50. The mother pays for the child when she has them, and the father pays for the child when he has them. There, just do that. And it's much better outcome for the children than whatever they're doing now. And you can have no fault divorce. You can walk away whenever you want, ladies. You just don't get to take the kids.
Yeah. All right, I got a super chat from Albernata Retro for $2 Canadian. He says, I'm Gen X2. Thank you for that. Okay, let's get back to this. This is almost the end of this. I thought the no fault divorce thing was important because it is like legitimately a men's issue that gets discussed.
And,
So
Particularly harmful for
what?
Nowhere is there actually an argument of the trad husband to family annihilator pipeline. Oh, look how
No.
she's just looking down like, oh.
I think she's looking at it on her tablet. That's why.
Oh, but she's looking like she's sad
looks,
or solemn.
Yeah, like she's like solemn. Yeah, yeah. No, she's in her looking at my tablet era.
Okay.
All right.
trying to scale back that no-fault divorce system because they're saying accessible divorce is just ruining the institution of marriage. We've got all of these people just getting divorces over small irritants that they should just work out. One senator even suggested that people should just stay in unhappy marriages, even violent ones, for the sake of children.
Okay.
No.
Oh, yeah,
I'm sure that's a misrepresentation.
Yeah,
no,
sure.
no, yeah, because you'd have to assume that men wouldn't be extra vigilant when there are other men that are supposedly being violent abusers to their wives. I don't see it. That's not how the court system works.
Even if it was, let's explore that. First of all, prior to no fault divorce, abuse was a grounds for divorce. So I'm not exactly sure why they'd even die on that particular hill. But let's look at that. When these women get in a relationship with a quote unquote abusive man, which incidentally, men also have to stay in relationships with abusive women, but that's already the case. So like men who are abused can't leave their relationships either. It's so difficult. They're going to be punished for it. Women aren't, men are. So we're even comparing the situation for women who have the capability of leaving an abusive relationship with men who don't. So the situation will become similar to the situation for men. Men can't leave, women can't leave. But regardless, these women who are leaving quote unquote abusive relationships are usually just getting into another one. Like, why not stay with your first abusive relationship and work it out? Because I'm guessing the problem is often you. Like, and like literally you in a lot of abusive relationships, women's abuse predicts whether or not she is going to be seriously harmed. So what's all happening is most relationships are relationships of mutual abuse. And I can imagine women think that they're not abusive because they're not the ones they're the ones with the biggest injuries because they're in a mutually abusive relationship with someone who's stronger than them. But here's the thing, like we take that away, you take responsibility. Why don't you take responsibility in the relationship, your current relationship? Because what I see happening is women will leave a so-called abusive relationship and they'll get into another one. And that one is even more likely to break down because they got the baggage from the first one and they've already demonstrated to themselves that they're a quitter, that is their solution. But what they're trying to flee at the end of the day is themselves. And I'm not saying that they're bad people. Maybe they have learned a pattern of abusive behavior that is inappropriate, from their family, from a previous relationship, whatever. But they should deal with it in their current circumstance, because once you start thinking that your circumstance changes, everything's going to improve, that's the kind of attitude that ruins lives. I have watched a woman do this. She alleges she left an abusive relationship. She got into a worse one, right?
Mm-hmm.
She left that relationship. Her circumstance got worse and worse and worse because she was bringing it with them. And when I say this to men, like, you were in an abusive relationship, maybe step back and see if you are contributing to attracting abusers. They're like, yeah, that's something I think I should do. They'll even come to that conclusion themselves. Hey, maybe, this is the third abusive girlfriend. Maybe it's something to do with me. Women will continue to look at the circumstance as the problem and say, oh, I'll change it again. Never works. So maybe they got a point. Maybe if you're looking at a situation where the abuse isn't so severe that your life is in immediate danger, which is a tiny minority, like this is the other thing. People like this use the tiny minority of domestic violence to frame all relationships in the same way. That is rare, okay? You're not in a relationship with a family annihilator. You're not in a relationship with a guy. You're probably not even in a relationship where the violence is one way from the man to the woman. You're probably in a mutually violent relationship, or you're in a relationship where you are the abuser and you're blaming the man, which I have seen as well. Okay? In which case, staying in the relationship and working on your shit probably will improve your life, rather than thinking that getting out of it is going to somehow get you away from yourself, right? That is the majority of the situation with abusive relationships, right? Mutual abuse is the majority. After that, female abuser first. After that, male abuser. All of those things don't seem to be helped by divorce. I'm just going to put it right out there. That problem seems to be consistent because the people who have it just get into another relationship with the same problem. So it doesn't make a difference. Like giving women divorce doesn't make a difference. They leave one problematic relationship, get into another one, because they're bringing the problems with them.
Yeah. And
Okay,
also
I know that's outrageous, but
oh no, it's fine. We should also probably not treat marriage as just dating plus one. And maybe like it should be taken very seriously. And maybe if you don't know if you're ready to get married, you shouldn't. And maybe the government shouldn't be involved with marriage anyways. Like we treat it so casually. It's like women want weddings, but they don't want to get married.
But the other thing is that why aren't conservatives fixing fatherlessness and men's loss of relationship with their children? You don't have to do no fault. This is bullshit. Just make shared custody the presumption.
Well, they did that in Florida, and feminists lost their minds. So,
well, of course they're
that.
going to lose their minds, but that's the way to go. Like honestly, and
right.
they feminists will say, well, men don't want to take care of their children. Well, so what? If they don't want to take care of their children, they can pay child support. See how that works?
Sure.
Yeah.
Or don't. Well, anyway, let's play the rest. There's just a little bit left in here.
Also claim that accessible divorce is actually bad for women because it makes men more likely to cheat on us. If you listen closer, their real problem is women having.
Stop doing that. Like you have to frame everything as it's bad for what. Let's just go out there. Can any group of people just be like, hey, can we pursue men's interests? Can we actually?
I don't know.
Women are to blame, and let's pursue some men's interests.
We're taking somebody whose TikTok is at the feminist lawyer, and we're actually like replying to that. She's obviously an insane person that is intentionally misrepresenting people so that she can craft a narrative to scare the shit out of women again.
Yeah, well, we have to respond to it because what else do we do if we just bury our heads in the sand?
No, I bet, but I'm just saying when she says that thing about like what the supposed conservative position is, I think she's lying.
Yeah,
I don't believe her.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I get it. I know that you guys are going to say the conservatives are so gynocentric. Yes, I understand. This is normal. They're blue-pilled. I get that. But these people are actively trying to destroy relationships. It's not the fucking same. They're just not like caught up. But I don't believe her. I don't believe her for a second. These people are liars. It's how they make all their money. They like thrive on other people's misery. And they create it. I mean, she's a fucking lawyer that's a feminist. Like, how complete is this? I'm sorry. I just don't.
Yeah, no, okay. Let's put it this way. These are the con artists, and the conservatives are often their victim.
Yeah.
The gynocentrism, because it's like conservatives allow themselves to be sucked into their framework over and over again because of gynocentrism. But also
because they know how to use it. That's what I'm saying. These people, they know how to use this system. That's why it works. That's why I'm saying, like, this isn't a both sides. This is people who are essentially being manipulated, and their instincts are being used, and people who are using them. So, who are you talking to? When you're typing again furiously.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Let me. There's just a little bit left of this, so let me just finish it.
Make decisions without a man's permission. I mean, just listen to this Republican commentator.
This was not my choice. My then wife decided that she didn't want to be married anymore. And in the state of Texas, that is completely permitted.
Okay, and one other thing. Let's talk.
Okay, so I forgot that Steven Crowder was in the video. Basically talking about his divorce. That's not, by the way, there's a lot of shit going on there that doesn't make his ex-wife look very good. So she's bringing it up completely out of context. That's a really old video when he first got the news, and he was kind of lamenting the whole, like, that he had no recourse. And I'm like, yeah, well, I get it. Like, if you marry someone, it should be for really good reasons. I think that marriage should be taken seriously, but it's not. These days, it's just like dating, and we're living together, and there's a ring and a wedding involved. And I can just break up with you whenever. Well, it's like, but don't get married then. Like, I don't think that, like, I'm saying marriage should be taken a lot more seriously than it is. And one of the reasons why I think we don't is because we treat it as just this thing that women get. Like, it's always them, right? Oh, I'm going to have a wedding. I'm going to have all these people. We're going to eat this, that, and the other. And then they get a divorce. And it's like, well, I guess I'm just going to undo all of that. But like, well, what's the point of this? What is the point of this? So it's like, if you don't want to end up in a situation where you have to deal with divorce, don't get married unless you know for sure. There will be rare instances, there will be some instances where divorce is the only solution. But right now, it's not treated that way. It's like all Hollywood weddings, which is weird that this like woman brought up a Hollywood divorce as an example. Those are all fake. They're fake. It's for the press. Stop it. Stop it. Marry someone you love. That's it. Do it for the right reasons. It's so obvious. And yet they just treat it like this disposable thing. And then they complain when, the people are like, well, we shouldn't take this so trivially. We should take it more seriously. And they're like, oh, these are conservatives oppressing me.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right,
I think that's, yeah.
Talk about the fact that there are a record amount of single men right now, and women still initiate 70% of divorces, which really isn't that surprising because men are far more likely to cheat, far more likely to physically and sexually abuse their partner, and they are far less likely to do domestic and emotional labor, even when the woman is the breadwinner.
No.
That was the end of the clip.
Like, this is all just, like, literally conservatives. This is recruitment for the party of single women. Everybody's worried about the minorities. But the biggest voting bloc for Democrats now, because Democrats have pretty much betrayed all of their principles for the Church of Women Worsting, is the party of single women. Like, this is just what happens. It's like probably what happened in the Bronze Age, when all the harems were bureaucratic instruments. So all of these single women were the ones making choices about what happened with the grain. Like, and eunuchs. Leave it for the exercise for the imagination who the eunuchs are in this system. But like, this is how they do it. This is how they are increasing the number of single women. Through these narratives that men are somehow more rapey. And what is the okay, I am not saying that conservatives are equally bad. But what is the conservative counter narrative to this? They don't have one.
Well, what happened when JD Vance said that, like the Democrats are just run by cat ladies. This is the thing that was like a single childless cat ladies. And he was basically trying to make a broader point about exactly what you're saying. Yes. And it's not just him. There was even a Democrat strategist guy. I forget his name, bald guy, glasses, very Southern. And he said, preachy females are running the Democrat Party into the ground, into the dirt, and the men are leaving in droves. And again, what happened? The women harped on both of these guys. It doesn't matter. This is ultimately a male-female dynamic that's happening here. Even the married women are siding with the single women. Because they want to be on their team woman. So it's just team woman.
Ridiculous. Like I had this conversation with a woman who was recently went on to it's like, I'm going to vote Republican because the Democrats are trashing the economy and bringing in, I'm not saying that people from other cultures are dangerous, but they're bringing them in from from regions that are sort of dangerous.
Well, there's evidence to show that the people who are coming across are actually like guys released from prison.
Okay.
So it's not just like people like women and children with their babies and they're hungry no, it's like dudes covered in tattoos.
Yeah. Okay.
Crossing the border.
So I had this exchange with this woman, and she's voting Republican because she has these concerns about what she's seeing. And she said, well, the thing that will make me not vote Republican is how they insult women. It's like,
you moron. Sorry.
Yes, you
fucking moron.
These are issues of the
system. They hurt my feelings. I'll destroy the country. I'll get them.
Yeah, but it's like these are the principles that you're seeing, which really, I don't even know if they're classically conservative principles anymore. It's basically, let's just fix the system so it can support us, eh? And it's like, this is the principles that you're seeing. You want them to not point out that the problem is the party of single women, because you find it an insult, even though you have overcome that thinking in order to recognize the principles that need to be upheld. So those women are not you, because you as an individual have taken the action to overcome whatever shit is causing them to be dragged down, right? Like, this is the issue. Like, I don't understand. And maybe it's something fundamentally different about me. I don't care that, in fact, I'm the one who pretty much coined the party of single women. I think so. And I don't care. I can criticize women as a group to the end of days, and I don't care, because I know that I can do things differently as an individual, and I can take pride in myself as an individual. So no matter what people say, women that are the drawbacks of being female, I can overcome them through individual effort by pursuing these kinds of virtues, rationality, true compassion. So extending myself to understand men, stuff like that, right? So why is it that you get insulted by things that other women do and that are being pointed out by Republicans or cat turd? Like, why do you feel insulted?
Because I want to score points against them. That's all. I mean, it really is very petty.
It's deeper than that. It's like women really struggle with detaching themselves from the hive and recognizing criticism of women is not necessarily, well, it's perfectly valid. Criticism of women is where your individuality begins. Because you're like, oh, you got over, like, what do you think the Epic of Gilgamesh is? It's the process by which a man develops himself individually by assuming responsibility for the negatives of masculinity. See what I'm saying? And saying, no, I need to take, these attitudes or this behavior, and I need to put it to service to others. So criticism of women is exactly the same. It is the beginning of developing yourself as an individual based on a moral framework that you have to work to achieve. And what the hell is the point of being alive if there's nothing to achieve? Like, you just want to sit there and marinate in your pussy fumes? Like,
Ew.
Okay.
No
All right,
thanks.
I'm good.
All right,
I'm
that's
good.
it. That's it. I'm done with that's all the time codes. I mean, it doesn't really get any
Holy
better.
man, that was, oh, good Lord.
Painful, right?
3 hours. Manifestelle.
Do you want to look at some
Yes, let's look at some palette cleansers, please.
some palette cleansers? Okay, face and go. We're gonna watch this.
I have a fucking murder.
You pause it. I gotta.
Yeah, don't play the music.
Yeah, right. You want me to mute it? Okay.
Yeah, mute
You
it.
don't want to get dinged by David Bowie's ghost.
No.
So it's there's a star man waiting in the sky, right? So here's a fire on a roof.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
guys see this?
Okay, so there's an arrow showing, I think.
Oh, they're rescuing somebody that's on the roof of this building with like a crane.
Yeah, the crane is going to rescue someone.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, probably the crane operator is a man, right? He sent this crane.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Come on now.
God, that is one hell of a cherry picker. Oh, God.
Yeah, like on a building. Let me play another one. We're not gonna do the sound, but you guys should.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Hold on.
Okay. Oh man, that's a good one. This is one where leaning against a motorcycle and a bunch of kids run past him, and the lead kid nearly gets hit by a car, but the guy pulls him out of the way just in time. Wow, reflex.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap. Those are some serious reflexes. That's cool. I also put in a really neat one. It's not a
just now?
Yeah, it's in masculinity.
Okay, hold on a second.
Does Tumblr just not keep your mute settings?
It doesn't. I'm just on. It's just YouTube. I don't know why, but maybe it's for the shorts.
The shorts just don't keep. Okay, so this guy just saved his dog or a dog.
Oh yeah, he went and rescued his dog from a fire. I saw this one before.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of these. They're basically the Starman meme. And there's videos, and it's mostly men, but sometimes it's women too, that are, doing these acts of heroism. What do you want me to put up? Is it this one with the basketball court?
Yeah, put up that one because I thought it was really cute.
All right.
It's unexpected.
And
yeah, so this one is basically some kids playing basketball, and one of the kids does something that a little bit unexpected.
Where is it? Oh, right here. In a world where you can be anything, be like number 50. This is on Twitter. Is there music to this too, or is it just like a video? So I can just play it. Okay.
Anyway, so these are kids who are all labeled. One kid labeled number 50.
He's the big kid.
The big kid who got the ball, and then he helped a really little kid try to make the basket. Oh, and he's helping him again.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Although I think it's pretty cruel that somebody gave him number 0.
Number 0.
That was his jersey is a 0. That's mean. I wouldn't have done that. But I mean, no one else noticed but me, so I guess that's cool. No, it's cute. Yeah. I like when you see boys helping each other out.
Yeah. Or just digging a really giant hole in a beach.
Yep. Whatever it is.
Whatever it is, it's adorable. And incidentally, I just recently read an article about a woman who wanted to do like sex selection, and she had 2 sons and she wanted a daughter, and she was
oh my god.
Yeah, I know. So she was doing the whole thing. Some of them are really bad because they just basically abort boys because they don't want them. And then there's also the implanting embryos that are female. So basically what they found with infertility is that the sex selection, most people want a girl, right? But this particular woman really wanted a girl. She got a girl. And then she said afterwards, she was warning other women, you won't necessarily get what you think you're going to get. My boys were actually a lot sweeter than my daughter. And that's true. You know,
Could
boys
be.
can, yeah, it's
Yeah.
well within the spectrum of boy behavior to be quite sweet and kind. You know, that's something that does come in male flavor. You know?
Yeah, it does. So I've heard.
Mind blown. All right, so thank you. Actually, I still haven't put together the fundraiser. I will be doing it. In fact, I'll do this right after. But so if you want to go to feedthebadger.com/support to help us out, you could do so there. And every bit helps. Like, I know that sometimes if you only have like you feel like it's only $5, that is never only $5. Everybody gives what they can. The point is that you care about these issues. You want this stuff to be heard, and you're willing to support finally calling women, feminists and women now, out on this bullshit behavior. Because like, how are we supposed to go forward if half the human race is allowed to do crap like this to the other half? Like, how is this functional? So if you want to support that, every bit helps. $5, $10, whatever. Feedthebadger.com/support. Make sure that we continue to be able to do this work because we're one of the few who seem to be willing to do this work. If you want to send a message after the show, if you want to comment on anything we said, you want to say that I said something wrong, there was additional things that needed to be said, whatever, feedthebadger.com/justthetip to send us a tip and a message, and we will read it out on the next show. I think we have a Super Chow though.
Yeah, dude, I was gonna read it.
Yeah, go ahead and read it.
Richard Bier gave us $5 and says, almost sounds like a promotion for bringing back lobotomies, doesn't it? Angry Allison typing noises abound.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Ugh, good Lord. Okay, now I have one hell of a headache. It's a little bit distributed across my head. It might be a migraine. Not a cluster headache, thank God. But anyway, yeah, so feedthebadger.com/support, support the show. Thank you to Richard for sponsoring this show. I'm guessing we're going to have to do the other half tomorrow because this was 3 hours long. That's probably as much my fault.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, there isn't much left of that Manifestelle thing, so we can do the other one.
Yeah, we'll do the other one. So
Yeah.
we'll next show come back to, you know, same bat channels, same bat station, same bat time. We will do the next crazy straw pipeline, which preview is feminist to far right, which admittedly the title at least is different, you know, accusing feminists of being the pipeline to the far right. That's different. Well, anyway.
Only her type of feminist, and again, far right. I don't even know what that means. So
no, who knows what that means anymore. So feedthebadger.com/support to support the show. I'll get that fundraiser up lickety split, and feedthebadger.com/justthetip to send us a message. Back to you, Brian.
Okay, so if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today, and please share this video because sharing is caring. You'll find links to the original videos, even the one we didn't do yet, in the description, so you can watch it yourself if you want to put yourself through that kind of mental torture. But there it is, so you know that we're not just making anything up. It's right there. So thank you so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we'll talk to you all in the next video. Good night, everybody.
Are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.